Chapter 3387. In Lu Li's life, he had entered many lands of treasure and solved many difficulties. Sometimes he was trapped, but Lu Li had always been confident. He believed that he could get out and solve all the problems. Therefore, at first, he did not pay much attention to this place. It was mainly because Blood Fairy had given him boundless confidence. As far as he was concerned, Blood Fairy's understanding of divine glyphs had reached the level of a master. Even if she could not solve it in a short time, she would be able to after some time. But now, Blood Fairy was telling him that she could not solve it. This was not only divine glyphs, but also seals of laws. Blood Fairy could not solve it. Lu Li himself could not solve it. This was built by a warrior at the consummate level. Given his understanding of laws and fundamental principles, it would be difficult for him to solve it. More importantly, the environment here was terrible. It was pitch dark and the space was narrow. If it were any other warrior in here, they would lose their minds and commit suicide in a few decades. Lu Li had the state of magic, so he did not have to face this environment. But he could not stay in the state of magic forever. By then, he would lose his mind as well. Lu Li dashed into the state of magic and forced himself to calm down. Panic and flights of fancy would not change anything. Only by staying calm could he find a way out. Lu Li had calmed down after sitting in the state of magic for 5 days. During these days, he had been analyzing the situation. There was a chance that he could solve this prison. As long as he could understand the formations and seals in the walls, he would have a chance to get out. He dashed out of the prison. Then, he walked to the wall and began to sense it. He used the trace of the Great Path to sense the things in the walls. Psychic power could not be used here, but the trace of the Great Path could still sense something. He tried to sense it with his heart, and after half a month, some vague things appeared in his mind. They were runes, and they looked very strange. The runes crisscrossed and were engraved on the walls. There were also formation patterns. Lu Li ignored the formation patterns and focused on the runes. Lu Li got up and walked to the other walls. He studied them one by one and memorized all the runes. Several months later, Lu Li had learned all the runes. A diagram was formed in his mind. The diagram was abstruse. It was like a beautiful star map, full of mystery and profound meaning. Lu Li began to cultivate. It was dark and quiet in here, but it was actually faster to cultivate here. Lu Li abandoned all distracting thoughts and began to cultivate. Time flew by quickly. Soon, 3 months had passed. Lu Li didn't learn much. The diagram was too abstruse. He couldn't see through it because it was different. After some thought, he entered the Dharma realm and continued to comprehend it. In any case, he had already recorded the runes in his mind. It would be the same to cultivate in a different place. Perhaps a different environment would give him a different harvest. Lu Li cultivated in the Dharma realm for another 3 months. Still, he gained nothing. These runes were somewhat unconstrained. He couldn't see through them at all. He couldn't understand them at all. He didn't know what they represented. Sleep. Lu Li fell asleep at once, not caring about anything else. He had been exhausted recently, and his mental state was not good. There was no point in continuing. After sleeping for 3 to 4 days, he came out of the cage and continued to meditate. This time, he entered the dreamland state. He forgot about time and everything in the outside world as he concentrated on comprehending. In this state, Lu Li had no sense of time. Time flew by quickly. Soon, 3 years had passed. Today, Lu Li opened his eyes. Phew, phew, he let out a long breath. After spending almost 4 years, he had finally cracked the nomological Tao seal here. Although he was not 100% sure, he was at least somewhat confident. He stood up and walked to the side of a wall. Then, he stretched out his palm and placed it on the wall. The strange energy in his body surged into the wall. He directed the energy to the runes and then used the energy to move the runes slowly. The energy and the runes were intangible and could move in the wall. Lu Li controlled the runes to move one by one and assemble them into another diagram. That was right. Lu Li believed that everything here was turned into a cage because there was a strange formation diagram here. As long as the formation diagram was changed, the seal of formation here would lose its effect. Of course, this was just his speculation. It would be up to fate whether or not it would work. Luli moved the runes bit by bit. There were tens of thousands of them, and they formed a huge diagram. It took Luli half a month to mobilize all the runes and form a new formation diagram according to his plan. It's done. Luli took a deep breath after he activated the last rune. Then, he waited quietly for something to happen. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, nothing happened. Could it be that I was wrong? Luli's eyebrows were knitted together. He stood on the wall in deep thought. After a long time, his eyes glowed as he shouted, "No, I am wrong. It should be the other way around." Luli began to work again. He activated the runes one by one, faster than last time. It only took Luli 10 days to finish the work. Buzzing, after Luli finished the last rune, the entire wall suddenly lit up. Luli had been in the dark all this time, so the sudden light caught him off guard. His eyes felt like they were being stung. It's done. Luli was overjoyed. Before he could put on a smile, he sensed a surge of horrifying energy. He sensed a fatal danger in his soul. Without any hesitation, he entered the realm of magic. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. It was as if he had poked a hornet's nest. Strands of sword energy gathered on the wall and shot into the secret chamber. It was like a formation of inertia. There was not a single blind spot in the secret chamber. Everywhere was filled with sword energy. Hiss, hiss. When Luli entered the realm of magic, he used a trace of Tao to sense the outside. He sensed that each strand of sword energy was almost as powerful as a completed attack. If he had been in there, he would have been reduced to ashes. Freaky. Luli curled his lips. The tomb of Yin King was horrifying. If he didn't have the realm of magic, he would have died for sure. Nobody could save him. Luli was upset. He was doubting himself. Was he wrong? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sword chi outside attacked for the time, for 1 incense stick to burn before it died down. What made Luli overjoyed was that, with a glare, a door appeared in the secret room. The door appeared out of thin air and opened to the outside without a sound. I am right. I'm going the right direction. But if I want to go out, I must endure the attack of the sword energy. Luli grinned. Whether or not there was a teleportation altar on the next level, at least he had left this crazy secret chamber. Chapter 3388. Luli checked and asked Blood Fairy to check. Making sure that there was no danger outside, Luli dashed out of that door as fast as he could. After a flash of white light, Luli found himself in a hall. The hall was bright, more than bright. On the walls were stoves that were burning with fire. The temperature in the hall was high. This temperature was nothing for Luli. He looked around for a while. The hall was empty. There were no treasures. Even so, Luli felt this place was dangerous. He looked at the ground in front of him and saw the strange patterns. The patterns covered the entire hall, like the face of a sorcerer. The patterns were faint, but they crisscrossed and connected with each other. There was a pattern in you and me in you. It was extremely complicated. Luli checked for a moment and then asked Blood Fairy to check. An hour later, Blood Fairy sent a voice transmission to Jiang Yi. Master, these patterns are all extremely complicated divine marks. Furthermore, there are countless divine marks connected together. The moment the divine marks get close to you, they will be activated. They are very powerful. However, they should be fire attribute divine marks. In other words, they will emit fire. Burst into flames? Luli grinned. He was not afraid of fire now. To him, no matter how strong the fire was, it was just a form of energy. Just like venom, no matter how toxic the venom was, it could not kill him. Emperor of Flame. Judging by the name, this powerful warrior must have a law related to fire. Luli had an idea. If the tomb of Emperor of Flame was filled with patterns related to fire, then it would be easy for him to go through. Will it be difficult for you to solve the problem? To be safe, Luli asked Blood Fairy. She answered after some thoughts. I can solve it, but it will take time. The patterns here are complicated. I think it will take me at least a year. I will try. Luli dashed forward without hesitation. He stepped into the first pattern. The patterns on the ground lit up, moving like snakes of fire. Soon the ground trembled. Blue flames surged out and enveloped Luli in an instant. Luli operated the swirl in the law realm. All the flames that were close to him were sucked into the law realm. Luli nodded after a while. He couldn't even feel the temperature of the flames. In that instant, he was sucked into the Dharma realm in the form of energy. All the flames gathered together in the Mana realm. There were white, black, and blue flames. Luli was curious. How horrifying would the flames be after they were refined by the Dharma realm? Would a little flame be able to incinerate a powerhouse infinitely close to the great perfection realm? Luli continued to move forward and soon entered the next circle of light. There was also a raging fire, the same blue flames. Luli walked on as if he was walking on flat ground. All the flames that were close to him were absorbed. Soon, Luli reached the end of the hall. There was a door here. Luli was not in a hurry to push it open. He asked Blood Fairy to crack it while he wandered around. Now that there was no danger, and this blue flame seemed very powerful, he would naturally absorb as much as he could. After walking around a few dozen times until the fire stopped, Luli was finally satisfied and walked towards the door. The flames were horrifying, but Luli treated them like delicious food. He was not happy that there was no fire down there. The patterns on the door were simple. Blood Fairy cracked it open easily. As soon as Luli stepped in, he felt he was in a sea of flames. He felt his body was about to be incinerated. He used the law realm at once to absorb all the flames. Only then did he feel relieved. Over half of his skin and flesh were burnt. Black smoke rose from many parts of his body, and he smelled burnt flesh. Luli dashed into the law realm to absorb the energy of origin and destruction. His body recovered quickly. 2 hours later, his body was healed. He used the trace of Tao to sense the outside. There was a furnace outside, and it did look like a furnace. It was filled with white flames, and the walls were sealed. The only thing that seemed to be a lid was on the top. Luli could see some faint patterns on the lid. This place did look like a huge furnace. There were no exits around or down there. The only way out must be above. Luli dashed out. He would absorb all the flames first. He would take in as many flames as he could. He wanted to see if this furnace could generate endless flames. He used the swirl in the law realm and then dashed out. As soon as he was out, the flames around him were absorbed. He wandered around and absorbed the flames one by one. This furnace was not large. In the time for a dozen breaths, the flames were absorbed. But soon, more flames came out. Luli sat in there and absorbed as many flames as he could. 3 days. Luli had been absorbing flames for 3 days. He could not tell how many flames he had absorbed. Finally, the flames stopped and the temperature returned to normal. Blood Fairy cracked the formation. Luli let Blood Fairy out. He hoped that this time, it would not be like the black cage with seals of loss. Otherwise, he could not tell how long it would take him. Master, this really is a furnace. Blood Fairy sent a message back after a while. Can you crack it? Luli asked. Yes, in a few days. Blood Fairy was sure of her words. Luli waited patiently. 5 days later, the patterns on the lid began to tremble. Then the lid flew up. Luli flew out and found himself in a hall. The furnace was not large, only the size of a head. There must be a special space inside. This furnace looks like a piece of treasure. Luli waved his hand. He could not care less. He had to put away the furnace first. The patterns on the furnace had been solved by Blood Fairy. Therefore, Luli put it away. He looked around. Soon he was disappointed. There was no teleportation altar here. He could not go out. Luli looked around. Eventually, he noticed the wall in front of him. That wall was strange. There were some strange reliefs on it. The Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level. Luli was excited. He could feel the Tao from the reliefs. Clearly, the reliefs were carved with swords. Flame Emperor must have done it himself. Luli walked to the reliefs and studied them carefully. The reliefs were long with many warriors and scenes. Luli could understand them after one glance. The reliefs recorded the growth of Flame Emperor. It was simple, but Luli could understand the path of Flame Emperor's growth. Luli nodded. This Flame Emperor is an extraordinary man. He was born in a low-level universe. Step by step, he became a warrior at the consummate level. He once controlled a universe at the fourth heaven. I think he burned several warriors at the consummate level. M. Chapter 3389. Emperor Yin had risen from humble beginnings. When he was at the fourth heaven, he was already a famous warrior. After he came to the immortal region, he dominated an area. Flame Emperor Mountain was where his temporary imperial residence was. Many warriors were familiar with the tomb of Flame Emperor. It was just that average warriors dared not to come in. Luli felt he was in a trance as he stared at the reliefs. He seemed to be seeing his own life journey. He had risen from humble beginnings as well. From a civilian to where he was today, the difference was that he did not reach the height of Emperor Yin. Of course, he was not dead yet. In the future, there was a possibility that he could go further. He might not be able to reach the absolute completion, but it was possible that he could become a warrior that was infinitely close to it. The more he looked, the more confused he became. He remembered when he was young, the 9 universes, the divinity, the second heaven, the third heaven, and many things that happened over the years. There seemed to be some kind of magic in the reliefs. Unconsciously, Luli was immersed in memories and emotions. This place was like a mirror, a crystal of memory. He saw the way he came. Luli was not only reminiscing about the past. Vaguely, he felt a strange Taoist rhythm. He didn't think too much. He stood in front of the reliefs and began to cultivate. 2 months had passed. Luli was still in there. He had sensed something strange about him. It was vicissitudes, sorrow, and desolation. For months had passed. Luli's breaths had stabilized. He was like a withered tree, an old man with 1 foot in the grave. His breath of life was weakening as well. He could die at any moment. 6 months had passed. Luli's breath of life was gone. He had turned into a statue. This was an extremely strange situation. A martial artist was comprehending some kind of Tao charm, but his life aura actually disappeared. If this matter was spread out, no martial artist would believe it, right? It was not only his appearance. Luli felt the same way. He had been studying for such a long time. Somehow, he felt that everything in the world was empty and boring. How glorious was Emperor Yin? How powerful was he? How domineering was he? The Lord of the Fourth Heaven Realm, the overlord of a region, the expert of the Great Perfection Realm. Was he not ashes to ashes now? He didn't know why he had such a feeling. He just felt that life was boring, and the life force in his body was slowly disappearing. This was also the reason why he had turned into a stone statue. After another 2 months, Luli had turned into a statue. There was no longer any chi and energy coming from him. If an expert were to check on him, they would discover that his corporeal body had lost all signs of life, and his soul had also fallen silent. Blood Fairy was very anxious. Not only her, but also the ghost Taoist. They all had a spiritual connection with Luli. Therefore, they could tell that Luli's breath of life was weakening. Blood Fairy tried. She kept sending messages to Luli, but Luli did not respond. It's over, it's over. Inside Luli's interspatial artifact, the ghost Taoist was pacing up and down. He sensed that Luli's life was getting weaker and that Luli's soul was getting quieter and quieter. He was Luli's soul slave. If Luli died, then so would he. What happened? Zishi asked curiously. Did something happen to Brother Lu? Yes. The ghost Taoist told her what he had sensed, and a trace of seriousness appeared on Zishi's little face. If Luli died, so would the ghost Taoist. She would be trapped in the interspatial artifact for the rest of her life and die of old age. Unless she could figure out a way to refine the interspatial artifact or improve her realm, she could destroy the interspatial artifact directly and survive in the twisting space. The ghost Taoist was anxious, but there was nothing he could do. Zishi was helpless as well. They could not leave even if they tried. They could only pray that Luli would be fine. Another 2 months passed. The ghost Taoist had lost all hope. Luli's soul was getting weaker and weaker, almost indiscernible. Today, the ghost Taoist suddenly sensed that Luli's soul was getting stronger and stronger, and so was Luli's life force. Blood Fairy was overjoyed. Luli had come back to life. His life force was growing at a rapid speed, and his soul was waking up as well. An hour later, Luli opened his eyes. Phew, phew. He exhaled slightly and rubbed his face with lingering fear. This time, he felt he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. The Tao contained in the relief sculpture was horrifying. It affected him without him knowing and almost killed him here. The relief sculpture does not contain marks of Tao, but the Tao of Flame Emperor, Luli said with certainty. The relief sculpture was similar to the stone tablet he saw at the Land of Dragons. That stone tablet also contained the Tao of a powerful warrior. What is the Tao of Flame Emperor? Luli pondered. The Tao of life and death? The Tao of reincarnation? Or the Tao of solitude? Or the Tao of death? Luli began to think about it. He believed that if he could continue, he might be able to master this Tao. But he did not, because he was afraid, and he did not like the Tao of Flame Emperor. Of course, the Tao of life and death could be used as a support to help Luli learn his own Tao. He had learned something from the Tao of Flame Emperor, which would have a great impact on his future. The Tao of life and death. In the Tao of Flame Emperor, Luli had seen through life and death. Flame Emperor did not die of old age. Luli believed he had committed suicide, or he wanted to use his death to verify if his Tao was correct or not. Clearly, Flame Emperor had passed away and vanished from the world. Therefore, his Tao was meaningless to Luli. Luli did not want to die yet. He had too many people to protect and too many things to do. Naturally, he would not commit suicide to prove his Tao. Therefore, at the last moment, the consciousness in the deepest part of Luli's soul, his desire to live, woke him up and brought him back to life. Write it down. Luli took out a knife and a piece of wood and began to write down the relief sculpture. He did not want to study the Tao of life and death, but he wanted to learn something from it. Now he could carve it down. Maybe it would be helpful when he tried to prove his Tao. After spending 5 days, he had perfectly carved the relief sculpture. Although it only had the shape and not the spirit, looking at the relief sculpture could awaken some memories in his mind. When the time came to comprehend it, he would have those memories. Let's go. Luli did not dare to look any longer in case he was trapped. He sent a message to Zishi and the ghost Taoist. Then, he pushed open the door and went to the next level. He was on high alert, fearing that something might go wrong on the next level. After a flash of white light, Luli appeared in a small hall. He was overjoyed when he took a look. There were 3 corridors in the hall, and there was a teleportation altar in the corner. That might be the way out. Let's go. Making sure that the hall was not dangerous, Luli asked Blood Fairy to crack the teleportation altar without any hesitation. He did not want to stay here any longer. He just wanted to leave. Chapter 3390. Bing Lu was frustrated. He was the powerful warrior that went after Luli. After Luli went into the Hall of Hellfire, he went back to the ancient palace and reported to the 2 warriors at the Absolute Realm. However, the 2 warriors at the Absolute Realm didn't care, and they didn't want to destroy the tomb of Yin Emperor. For them, to destroy the tomb of Yin Emperor was a sin. The tomb of Yin Emperor was a land of treasures, a place where future generations could rise. There must be some Tao and treasures left behind by Flame Emperor. There were many such tombs in the world. This was not just a tomb. There was a great meaning behind these experts leaving behind this tomb. It was actually to leave behind an inheritance, to pass down their treasures and their Tao. They had their own families where their Tao and treasures could be passed on. They could understand those powerful warriors who had no descendants. They spent their lives pursuing the Tao with no distractions. They had no descendants, no friends. Naturally, they didn't want to die quietly. They wanted to pass on their knowledge and treasures. They didn't want to give away their Tao and treasures. Therefore, they would set up some tests. Only by passing their tests would one be able to obtain their recognition, their inheritance, and the qualifications to obtain their treasures. This actually gave future generations a lot of opportunities, giving them the opportunity to grow quickly and also giving them the opportunity to reach the sky in a single bound. Warriors at the Absolute Realm stood at the peak of the world. Naturally, they had a different outlook. They wouldn't destroy such a land of treasures. If some powerful warriors tried to do so, they would punish them. Therefore, they didn't mind that Luli had entered the Hellfire region. It was his strength and luck that he could go in. Even if Luli had the legacy of Flame Emperor, it was Flame Emperor who had chosen Luli. Luli was just a passing warrior who had many strange skills. They didn't think it was a problem. There were thousands of strange races in the world, and warriors with their own strange skills could be found everywhere. Anyone below the Absolute Realm was a nobody. This was the pride of warriors at the Absolute Realm. They wouldn't target warriors below the Absolute Realm, and they didn't care. When Bing Lu went back to report, they didn't say anything. They just told Bing Lu to deal with it himself. Several forces were at war. They didn't have the mood to deal with a warrior at the Emperor Realm. This little martial artist did not cause any damage to the ancient palace. If many experts of the ancient palace had died in his hands, then the two Perfection Realm experts would naturally pay more attention to him. Therefore, Bing Lu could only come here alone. Not a single expert was assigned to him. Of course, he had mobilized many scouts to stand guard nearby. He thought that when Luli came out, he would try to hunt him down. It would be best if he could capture Luli, but even if he could not, he would kill Luli. It had been more than 2 years, and there was no news from Luli. Bing Lu even wondered if Luli had died in there. The scouts were originally very serious about searching nearby, but after 2 years, they had become lazy. Fortunately, the battles in the vicinity had temporarily stopped, and there were no signs of chaos in the vicinity. Otherwise, if the enemy came over, why would they still be waiting here? Those scouts will all die. Not only were there scouts, Bing Lu had also set up many hidden divine inscriptions in the vicinity. He was a grandmaster in the field of divine inscriptions and was ranked within the top 5 in the ancient shrine. An area with a radius of 3 million miles was filled with divine inscriptions he had set up. He believed that as soon as Luli came out, Luli would trigger his divine inscriptions by accident. By then, Bing Lu would be able to sense it. Those scouts knew his divine inscriptions very well, and they would not touch them easily. On this day, Bing Lu suddenly opened his eyes. He was like a lion that had been awoken from its slumber. His eyes were filled with a bright light as he looked towards the west. The divine inscriptions over there were triggered. Bing Lu flew up and arrived in an instant. He used psychic power to check. Sure enough, he saw a familiar figure in the distance. *T. As soon as Luli came out, he sensed a surge of powerful chi and energy coming from the distance. Luli cursed to himself. Why did he go into the tomb of Yin King? Wasn't he going in to avoid Bing Lu? Now that he was in the tomb of Yin King, he had a narrow escape. Now that he was out, the result was the same: buzzing. Though he was cursing to himself, Luli reacted quickly and went into the law realm at once. In a time for one breath, Bing Lu came over. Seeing that Luli had disappeared, Bing Lu was furious. Just one breath, and he could have killed Luli. Luli had disappeared again. It would be even more difficult for Bing Lu to find Luli. He should be nearby. Bing Lu forced himself to calm down. He thought about it and began to set up nearby. He planned to build the formation of an action and guard here for thousands of years. He would not stop until he killed or captured Luli. Luli went in and used the trace of the Great Tao. When he saw that Bing Lu was building the formation, Luli felt even more troubled. The powerful warrior was building the formation. Was he trying to trap Luli here? This powerful warrior had been after Luli for years. Clearly, he would not give up easily. If Luli stayed here, would he have to hide in the law realm for the rest of his life? No. A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. After a moment, he shouted, "Kill him. I must kill this powerful warrior, or I will be trapped here for the rest of my life." In the past, Luli did not have the means to kill a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm. But now he did. He had the black flames and the super flames generated by the law realm. The law realm absorbed some of the white, blue, and black flames and merged them together. There was a dark golden flame that was more powerful than the black flames. Luli believed that even a warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm would be incinerated by the flames. Luli didn't have enough dark golden flames, so he didn't plan to use them. But he had more black flames. The law realm was slow to melt the black flames. Maybe it was because the black flames were too strong. Therefore, Luli did have a way to kill this powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm. The problem now was how to set up the formation. The flames were strong enough to burn Bing Lu. But there was a prerequisite. He had to hit Bing Lu. If he could not, the flames would be pointless even if they were 10 times stronger. Zishi. Luli remembered that pretty little girl. Zishi had a forbidden skill. Last time, she put Bing Lu in a strange state for 1 or 2 breaths. 1 or 2 breaths was enough for Luli to kill him. Come on. Luli dashed into the interspatial artifact. Zishi and the ghost Taoist were overjoyed. They gathered around him. They had thought that Luli was going to die. Now, they felt Luli was so close to them. Let's not waste time. I will explain to you what happened during this time later. Bing Lu was building the formation quickly. Luli dared not to dawdle. Now was the best time to kill Bing Lu. Luli solemnly said, "That powerful warrior is still out there. I have a way to kill him. I need your help. Distract him and create a chance for me." Chapter 3391. The formation of an action was not easy to set up. It was a strong formation and it would take some time. Bing Lu spent an entire 4 hours and still wasn't done. The foundation and patterns were all set up. Now, the last step was to build the formation soul. This was the core of the formation of an action, the most important part. Therefore, Bing Lu attached great importance to it. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed and began to build a connection with the formation of an action. When the formation soul was built, the formation of an action would be activated. By then, he would keep the formation of an action active and trap Luli in this world. This time, he had made up his mind. He would not stop until he killed Luli. Buzzing. At this critical moment, the space suddenly fluctuated. Then, countless skeletons rushed out. As soon as these skeletons came out, they ran all over the place. Many skeletons collided with his body. He had no choice but to shatter the skeletons in the vicinity. Roar, roar. The ghost Taoist's remaining 2 trump cards, the Corpse Kings, came out. Bing Lu had shown himself. The 2 Corpse Kings roared as they dashed over. The thick stench of death caused the plants nearby to die and space to tremble. Bing Lu stopped building the formation soul of the formation of an action. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. Was Luli about to make his way out? He didn't even have to build the formation of an action. He could just kill Luli. Buzzing. Luli dashed out. He had already used the dragon transformation. 2 rays of golden light rose in his eyes. At the same time, he took out his weapon and released a move. At the same time, a huge silver dragon soared into the sky, bringing with it an unparalleled might as it attacked Bing Lu. How can the brilliance of an ant compete with the brilliance of the moon? Bing Lu sneered. He slapped at the 2 Corpse Kings and crushed them into dust. When he was about to attack Luli, he suddenly saw a little girl behind Luli. Then, the little girl's hair turned green and grew wildly, dancing in the air. Oh no! At this moment, Bing Lu sensed something was wrong. He had forgotten how horrifying the girl was. He had also forgotten that Luli seemed to have absorbed the flames in the tomb of Yen King. He had made a very foolish mistake. He had underestimated his enemy. Luli's realm was too low and he was used to thinking logically. As far as he was concerned, Luli only had some strange escaping abilities. He never thought that Luli could kill him. Even if Luli could absorb the flames from the tomb of Flame King, it would be impossible for him to hit Luli. He had forgotten about the strange little girl. Buzz. He woke up a bit too late, and his eyes became misty. Shinya Zishi's strange forbidden art had caused him to fall into a strange illusion. He felt that everything in front of him had disappeared, and all around him was a dreamy, starry sky. Die! Luli bellowed. He swung his saber again. This time, along with the saber came black flames. As soon as the flames appeared, the space around them twisted. Luli's saber melted into molten iron, and the skeletons nearby all turned into black ash. Chi-chi. The black flaming saber radiance whizzed forward, arriving in front of Bing Lu in the blink of an eye. Bing Lu had already woken up, but when he opened his eyes, he saw a black flaming cloud. He felt his entire body was on fire. He watched helplessly as his skin and flesh were burnt into charcoal at a horrifying speed. He had no time to react. His physical body was almost useless. Run! Bing Lu reacted quickly. Faced with such horrifying flames, he did not think of fighting back. Instead, he wanted to run. However, most of his physical body had been destroyed. It was too late, even if he wanted to run. His brain reacted fast, but his physical body could not. It was too late, even if he tried to run. Buzzing, Bing Lu was a smart man. In such a short time, he reacted quickly. His soul flew out from his mind, and then he ran away in a blur. He abandoned his physical body and ran away with his soul. His soul was strong. As long as he could run away, he could rebuild his physical body. After some years, he could recover his abilities. That being said, even though his soul had escaped, it was burnt by the heat. Bing Lu's soul was in pain. He was enraged. His soul was hurt as well, and one of his primary souls was hurt. More importantly, he could not nurture his soul yet. By the time he flew back, his soul would be in serious trouble. If he didn't become mentally retarded, it would be hard for him to return to his prime. There were scouts nearby, many of them. When a skeleton came out, they were all alarmed. They were waiting to see Bing Lu make a killing. Who would have thought that Luli would come out with such horrifying flames? Even Bing Lu could not stand it. He had to abandon his physical body. One of the scouts reacted quickly. How could he not record such a shocking event? Also, he wanted to see a powerful warrior in action so he could learn more. Therefore, he took out a memory crystal and recorded the scene. Of course, only one scout reacted this way. The others were scared out of their wits. Some of them even ran away at once. Not even a powerful warrior close to the consummate realm could stand it. If they stayed, they would die for sure. Swish, swish. The flames swept across and enveloped Bing Lu's body. His body was burned into ashes in a fast speed. Not only his body, but all the flowers and trees nearby were burnt as well. So were the skeletons. Zishi was on fire. Luckily, Luli put her away at once. After the flames passed, not a blade of grass grew in an area with a radius of more than 300 miles. The land was scorched. The scorching heat twisted the space. The saber in Lu Li's hand melted into molten iron. His robe was burnt, and his newly grown hair and eyebrows were burnt into ashes again. Luckily, he had a pair of leather pants of the top level of the fire family. Otherwise, he would be naked as well. Lu Li's body was not harmed by such horrifying flames. His skin didn't even turn red. Looking at the soul that was running away, Lu Li sighed. He had underestimated the reaction speed of a warrior close to the consummate realm. He had thought he could destroy Bing Lu's body and soul, but he was still one step behind. Whoosh! While Lu Li was feeling sorry, Bing Lu's soul came back at a fast speed. A furious voice was heard. Bastard, you have destroyed my body and hurt my soul. I will die with you. Bing Lu condensed his soul energy into a voice. His soul flew over in a blur. Lu Li was taken aback. Without any hesitation, Lu Li activated his realm of magic. Then, black flames whooshed out and enveloped a part of the sky around him. Bing Lu's soul was hurt. He didn't want to live anymore. He wanted to destroy Lu Li's soul with all his might. Therefore, he continued to charge forward and charged into the black flames. Before the black flames reached Lu Li, his soul was already hurt. Now that Bing Lu's soul was in the black flames, the result was predictable. Before Bing Lu's soul could reach Lu Li, it was burned into nothingness. Chapter 3392. Run! After Bing Lu's soul was burnt to ashes, the scouts in the vicinity finally woke up from their stupor and ran away in fright. Lu Li didn't go after them. How could he kill all the scouts? His mission now was to run away as far as he could. Lu Li changed his body shape into that of another warrior. Then he released the swift skill and his speed became horrifying. At the same time, he disguised his realm as a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the absolute completion. Even though he only imitated the form, not the spirit. If a powerful warrior of this level were to come close, he would be noticed. Luli couldn't worry about that now. Traveling at this speed was extremely terrifying. He could maintain the swift art for an hour. If there were no accidents, the distance he could travel in this hour would be equivalent to half a month. Luli was in luck. Recently, there were no more battles nearby. Some scouts did not dare to stop him. He had traveled for an hour and covered hundreds of millions of miles. He ran into at least tens of thousands of scouts along the way, and his tracks were all discovered. Therefore, after Luli deactivated the Swift, he still used secret concealment to cover millions of miles, even though he was exhausted. Then, he entered the realm of magic. He didn't think too much and fell asleep right away. Powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion of the realm of magic could not sense him. Warriors at the absolute completion would not come after him in person, would they? What was more, whether or not warriors at the absolute completion could sense him was another matter. Luli slept for 5 days. When he woke up, he sensed the surroundings. There were no powerful warriors or scouts. He rested for a while and went out. He went into stealth mode and ran toward the east. It was a smooth journey. There were no powerful warriors in front of him, and there were not many scouts. He had covered a long distance in the hour. Even if his enemies wanted to stop him, they wouldn't be so far away. The ancient temple didn't stop him because they were in big trouble. One of the scouts recorded the scene of Luli killing Bing Lu with a memory crystal. The scout ran away. He wanted to go back to the ancient temple, but he was unlucky. Along the way, he was killed by 2 scouts from another force. The scout treasure was divided between the 2 scouts. Then, the 2 scouts saw the memory crystal and recognized Bing Lu. The 2 scouts brought the memory crystal back. Then, the memory crystal was duplicated by tens of millions of copies and spread out at a terrifying speed. Right now, this matter was being spread throughout the nearby cities. It was not because there was an ancient palace elder in the memory crystal, but because this matter was extremely controversial and shocking. The crystal of memory recorded the scene where Luli released the black flames and burned Bing Lu. Then, Bing Lu's soul flew back and was burned again. Anyone who had seen the memory crystal would be able to feel the terror of the black flames. An expert who was infinitely close to the Paragon level was actually burned to death. Furthermore, he was almost instantly incinerated. If his soul did not escape, his body and soul would have been annihilated in that instant. Luli's robe was burned, and so was his hair and beard. But how come his body was fine? Furthermore, the flames at the back were coming from his body. Many powerful warriors tried to judge Luli's realm. No matter how they looked at it, he did not look like an expert at the Paragon level. There were 3 or 4 experts at the Paragon level that cultivated in the fire attribute, but none of them were like Luli. Also, Luli's breath of life was very young. How could such a young expert at the Paragon level be possible? If he was not an expert at the Paragon level, then how could he control such powerful flames? Luli did not look like an expert that cultivated in the fire attribute. Otherwise, how could his hair and beard be burned to death? Therefore, this was very controversial. Some warriors said that Luli was actually a hidden expert at the Paragon level. Some warriors refuted that he was not. Some warriors said that Luli had a treasure of the fire attribute. It was very likely to be the treasure of the Flame Emperor because the battle took place at the Flame Emperor Mountain. There were also many questions. For example, why did this expert from the ancient temple just stand there like a fool? When the black flames attacked, it was not fast. With the speed of this expert, he should be able to dodge it. Why didn't he move? As long as there was controversy and doubt, and there was a strong contrast, this matter would spread very fast. On top of that, there was a super force secretly spreading the news. The news spread faster and faster. There were 2 main characters in this matter. One was Luli and the other was Bing Lu. Luli was the main character in the controversy, and Bing Lu was the negative example. The ancient temple was also shamed because of this. People in the nearby cities were talking about it. For example, have you heard? The ancient temple's expert that was infinitely close to the paragon level was burned to death by an Emperor Realm warrior? That patriarch of the ancient temple is so useless. He was burned to death by a young warrior. The impact of this matter was too great. It also shamed the ancient temple. Recently, the ancient temple had been under a lot of pressure. There were already hostile forces eyeing them covetously. As soon as this matter spread, the ancient temple became a laughingstock. Their reputation was damaged, and their morale was declining. They had stopped fighting, but the two super forces nearby began to send more troops to the border. Clearly, the two forces wanted to take advantage of this matter to completely destroy the ancient temple. Therefore, the ancient palace, which originally wanted to hunt down Lu Li, didn't dare to act recklessly. Lu Li was lucky. Otherwise, there would be people chasing him everywhere. It would be difficult for him to escape. Even if he could, it wouldn't be so easy. Lu Li, on the other hand, became famous. Even though no warrior knew his name, the fact that a young human used fire to burn a powerful warrior infinitely close to the paragon level caused such a sensation that it would spread across more than half of the eastern region. Lu Li moved forward quickly. After more than half a month, he successfully left the area where the battle was going on. He released Zixi, and the ghost Taoist was also released by him. He moved forward leisurely and asked Zixi and the ghost Taoist to investigate. He avoided the den ahead and kept a low profile. For the next 2 months, everything went smoothly. He didn't run into anything out of the ordinary. After 2 months, Lu Li ran into some trouble. There were beasts going on a rampage. There were not tens of thousands of beasts, but countless. Even the weakest of the beasts were as powerful as saint emperors. Because Zixi was here, Lu Li was not afraid. They went through the mountains directly. Who knew how long they would have to go around? Zixi could even kill an immortal beast that was infinitely close to the paragon level. What was there to be afraid of? So many beasts and immortal beasts. Along the way, Lu Li and the ghost Taoist were amazed. So many beasts and immortal beasts were going crazy. Not only were they attacking warriors nearby, but they were also fighting with each other. Why are these beasts and immortal beasts going crazy? Lu Li couldn't figure it out. Along the way, he rarely saw beasts and immortal beasts going on a rampage in the immortal region. Basically, they stayed in their own territories. He had never seen beasts running around the world. P.S. Chapter 4 tomorrow. Third Master. Chapter 3393. Everything had a cause and effect. It would not happen for no reason. There must be a reason for the beasts and immortal beasts to go on a rampage. It was just that Lu Li could not figure it out. He was not in the mood to find out, either. With Zixi leading the way, no beasts or immortal beasts could pose a threat. Immortal beasts at the eastern region were unlikely. Immortal beasts of this level were rare. There were only a few in the entire immortal region, and one of them had become the king of the eastern region. After more than 2 months, they had successfully passed through the area where beasts and immortal beasts roamed. Lu Li looked at the map and smiled. They were not far away from the city of mystic armor. If everything went well, they would arrive in 3 or 4 months. They were about to arrive at the core area of the eastern region. It should be less chaotic here. After all, they were close to the area where the king of the eastern region lived. Lu Li prayed to himself that they would not encounter any more chaos. He did not want to be hunted down by powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the immortal beasts of the eastern region. Therefore, he kept a low profile. He did not dare to enter any of the cities along the way. He would not go near any mountains, ridges, rivers, or abysses. He knew very well that the more dangerous a place was, the more likely it was for an old demon to hide. This was especially true for places with rich heaven and earth spiritual chi. He had long since avoided those places. The hiding places of supreme experts were definitely places with dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth, or dark and terrifying places. They wouldn't bother hiding in ordinary small mountain ranges, so they wouldn't be interested at all. With this in mind, Lu Li's journey had been smooth. He had run into some warriors, some beasts, and some immortal beasts, but nothing dangerous had happened to him. Another 2 months later, they were very close to the city of mystic armor. Luli encountered another crisis. He passed by a small lake. He thought that there was nothing in the lake, but when he flew over the lake, the water below suddenly swept up. Immortal beasts! Luli was surprised. He felt he was entangled by the water. The water turned into vines, tried to entangle him and pull him down. He checked with psychic power and found a whirlpool at the bottom of the lake. There was strong energy of beasts in the whirlpool. Buzzing, Luli did not take the risk. He dashed into the land of Dharma and used the trace of Tao to check outside. He saw more than a dozen tentacles in the swirl, and those tentacles had eyes, more than a dozen pairs of eyes. The tentacle searched around for a while. Then, billowing green fog came out from the tentacle and enveloped the entire lake. The water in the lake tumbled and formed many small beasts that flew around, looking for Luli. This immortal beast is very intelligent. Luli was secretly surprised, but he was not in a hurry. Anyway, he would stay in there until the immortal beast completely stopped. This immortal beast was very patient. After a long time, it finally disappeared. The whirlpool at the bottom of the lake also disappeared, and the immortal beast disappeared without a trace. Still, Luli didn't move. After another half a day, he came out and went into stealth mode. He flew to the distance quickly. Whoosh! As soon as Luli came out, the water in the lake surged up. Then the tentacle reached out as well and tried to entangle Luli. Luli made up his mind and released the swift skill. He sped up and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. Buzzing, the tentacle disappeared, but the water in the lake formed into a strange figure in midair, a bit blurry. Looking at where Luli disappeared to, the figure sighed and said, "This human is weak, but he has such a strange skill. It is a pity that I didn't catch him, or he would be a great tonic." Since Luli had already used a swift skill, he would not stop. He used the trace of Tao to sense his surroundings. At the same time, he used the skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as a powerful warrior that was close to the consummate realm. Of course, he didn't fly in the sky. He flew close to the ground. It was a smooth journey. Luli had been on for an hour, and he couldn't tell how far he had traveled. He stopped when he realized he was not far away from the city of mystic armor. There were more warriors and scouts here. He went into the realm of magic to rest. He was excited. He was about to arrive at the city of mystic armor. He hoped Lu Xiaobai wouldn't run around. Luli came out after a day's rest in the realm of magic. He hurried toward the city of mystic armor. There were many scouts and warriors of all races nearby. Luli avoided them carefully. He just wanted to sneak into the city and find Lu Xiaobai. He used the stealth skill so the average scouts couldn't find him. He moved forward with ease. In half a day, he was standing near the city of mystic armor. Phew, phew. He allowed a long sigh. He stood on top of a small mountain and looked at the huge city from afar. His face was filled with gratification. From the chaotic star region to the southern region, across the southern region, and then across the eastern region, he had gone through a lot of hardships and narrowly escaped with his life. If he didn't have the realm of magic, the stealth skill, and the swift skill, he wouldn't have made it this far. He wouldn't even be able to cross the southern region, let alone the eastern region. Fortunately, all the hardships were over. Finally, he was standing outside the city of mystic armor. He was about to see Lu Xiaobai. If it was Lu Xiaobai, then his trip would be a success. He wouldn't have to worry about the way back. He was the son of the king of the eastern region. It would be easy for him to go back to the chaotic star region. Buzzing, Lu Li's interspatial artifact glowed as he let the ghost Taoist out. Between his eyebrows glowed as Lu Li returned the ghost Taoist seal of soul. The ghost Taoist accepted the seal of soul. He was delighted. It was good to be free again. Buzzing, Lu Li's interspatial ring glowed as he took out 5 top-level herbs he got from the tomb of Yin King. He handed them over and said, "Ghost Taoist, you have lost many corpse kings along the way. These are your compensation. Okay, I have arrived at the city of mystic armor. I will give you back your freedom. You can go wherever you want." These herbs, the ghost Taoist glanced at them, and his face was immediately filled with shock. He had lived for so many years, and he could be considered to have seen many things, but he had never seen such old super divine medicines. These 5 divine medicines could be said to be priceless. "Thank you, Master." Out of habit, the ghost Taoist addressed Luli as Master. Luli waved his hand and said, "Okay, you can go now." "Thank you, Lord." The ghost Taoist bowed. In the immortal region, the ghost Taoist had seen too many treachery in ghosts. But it was the first time that he had seen Luli keep his word. Luli was like a clear stream. The ghost Taoist dared not to stay any longer. What if Luli changed his mind? The ghost Taoist vanished into the distance. Luli used psychic power to check the interspatial artifact. Zishi was still in a deep sleep. It would be several months before she could wake up. He thought for a while and then changed his appearance. He disguised himself as a middle-stage Saint King and walked toward the gate of the city of mystic armor. There was a team of warriors at the gate. All of them were Saint King realm warriors. Luli was stopped at the gate. The guards asked Luli for a token. How could Luli have one? He smiled and said he wanted to buy a token with celestial stones. One of the warriors waved his hand and said, "You cannot buy tokens. You cannot enter without a token. Go away. Or else, don't blame us for being rude." Luli was surprised. If he could not buy tokens with celestial stones, then how would the tokens be distributed? He had come such a long way and could not even enter the city of mystic armor. Wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Chapter 3394. Luli was not worried even if he could not get in. He believed that as long as there was light in the world, there would be darkness. As long as he had celestial stones, he could buy a token to enter the city. The immortal region was not the real immortal region. It was darker here than the chaotic star region, so there must be black markets nearby. Luli left and sneaked around nearby. If he really couldn't do it, he would rob a warrior and get his token to go in. Of course, if he could, it would be better. Luli didn't want to get into trouble. He had to be sure whether Lu Xiaobai was Little White or not. If it were not for Little White, not even the Almighty God could save him if he messed around in the city of mystic armor. Luli was not in a hurry now that he had arrived at the city of mystic armor. He wandered around the area, and it only took him 3 days to find a black market. There was a hidden castle in the middle of a mountain. There were martial artists going in and out of this place. Therefore, this was either a secret branch of a force or a black market. Buzzing, Luli revealed himself and walked toward the castle. The guards hiding outside showed themselves and stopped him. A black-robed warrior asked, "What is it?" Luli was more confident now that they were not being guarded. He said, "Is this a chamber of commerce? I want to buy something." The black-robed warrior said, "What are you looking for?" Luli smiled and said, "I have plenty of celestial stones. What I want to buy will depend on what you sell here." "That will be easy." The black-robed warrior smiled and said, "As long as you have celestial stones, we will be able to satisfy you. This way, please." Luli followed him in and stepped into a secret door. Inside was a splendid hall with many warriors, and saint emperors were everywhere. There were many shops, and some warriors had set up stalls. This chamber of commerce must have their own items to sell. They also provided a place for other warriors to do business here. They would charge handling fees. Luli wandered around. There were only some elixirs, materials, and treasures. He was not here to buy them. He wandered around and entered a shop. There were no goods on display here. There was only an old man sitting with his legs crossed. "What do you want?" The old man asked politely. Luli asked, "I want to buy something that cannot be sold openly. Do you have it?" The old man smiled gently. He got up and walked inside. Luli followed him. After the old man entered, he activated the divine imprint and inquired, "Sir, what do you want? Feel free to state it clearly. I specialize in selling treasures that cannot be found in the market." The token to enter the mystic armor city. Luli came straight to the point. The old man frowned, shook his head, and said, "This is not easy. Every token has a corresponding soul chi and energy. If you take another martial artist's token, you will be immediately discovered when you enter the city, and then you will be killed." Luli asked in confusion, "Why is the mystic armor city so strict?" The other cities aren't like this. This is an order from the young master himself. The old man explained, some time ago, young master often went to war, so the enemy sneaked in many scouts and spies, and they even wreaked havoc in the city. This made the young lord very angry, and he ordered that ordinary warriors were not allowed to enter the city. Those with the token are all from the young lord's bloodline. Those without the token are not allowed to enter. Young lord, are you Lu Xiaobai? Lu Li asked with curiosity. The old man's expression darkened. He said in a cold voice, please show some respect to our young lord. He is the only son of the king of the eastern region. He himself is very powerful. He is the young lord of the eastern region, the future king. If you don't respect our young lord, then please get out. Sorry. Lu Li cupped his fists and said, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I have no other intentions in coming to the city. I just want to go in and see an old friend. How many celestial stones do you need? Just tell me. 500 billion. The old man said bluntly. Also, you can only stay in there for a month. You must come out in a month because the token can only last for a month. Without the token, you will be killed. A month? Lu Li looked awful. 500 billion was not a big deal, but it was only for a month. What if he couldn't see little white in a month? Wouldn't the 500 billion celestial stones be wasted? Okay, Lu Li sighed. So be it. He had to go into the city, or else he wouldn't have a chance. After the discussion, Lu Li paid the 200 billion celestial stones in advance. The old man asked Lu Li to wait. They would send professional warriors to make tokens, and they would need Lu Li's soul and chi. Taking advantage of the time, Lu Li asked, do you have a portrait of Lord Lu Xiaobai? This humble servant greatly admires Lord Lu and would like to see his heroic bearing. No. A glint of coldness rose in the old man's eyes, and he said, are you a spy? Did you come to the city of mystic armor to gather information? Ha, you must be joking. Lu Li shrugged and said, I think for Lord Lu's enemies, these portraits and specific information must be very detailed. Do we need to gather information about this? The old man thought Lu Li's words made sense. He snorted and said, young lord is one of our most respected warriors, so we don't want you to ask too much about him. If you're in the city and you ask about him like this, I promise you that you won't live for more than one day. Lu Li was troubled. He wanted to find out about Lu Xiaobai to make sure if he was Little White. If he could confirm that Lu Xiaobai was Little White, he would fly above the city and shout that Little White had come out. Lu Xiaobai must have a high prestige. All the warriors in his territory respected him, and they loved him from the bottom of their hearts. It would be difficult to find out more about him. Lu Li had to go into the city and see if he could meet him. Lu Li believed that as long as he could meet Lu Xiaobai, he could be sure that it was Little White. Little White had been with him for many years, and he was so familiar with its chi and chi. Lu Li believed that as long as it was Little White, it would be able to recognize him. Lu Li didn't ask any more questions, for fear that the old man might misunderstand and refuse to give him the token to enter the city. Lu Li sat here with his legs crossed. After half a day, a warrior came in and threw a token to Lu Li. The old man told Lu Li to dissolve the token so that it would have Lu Li's chi and chi. Okay. After Lu Li dissolved the token, the old man said, you can only stay in there for a month. If you don't come out after a month, you will be courting death. What's worse, we will report you. Okay. Lu Li paid the rest of the celestial stones. The old man warned him again, don't act recklessly in the city and don't go out to ask for information. Otherwise, you will face the consequences. Okay. Lu Li nodded and left. After he left, the old man called over a warrior and said, go and tell Lord Lu in the city to keep an eye on this punk. If he does anything rash, kill him right away. Chapter 3395. The city of mystic armor was large. It was not a newly built city. It had been here for many years and was only changed into a city of mystic armor in recent years. This was the second largest city nearby. The largest city was the one where the king of the East lived. Lu Li walked into the city of mystic armor with the token in his hand. It was a lively place with many warriors of different races. But most of them were monsters, which were transformed from monsters and immortal beasts. Many monsters and immortal beasts had intelligence. When they reached a certain level of cultivation, they could transform. It was just that many monsters were unwilling to do so. The king of the East was an immortal beast, so naturally, there were more monsters at the eastern region. Many of them came from afar to serve the king of the East. How many immortal beasts were there in the immortal region? A portion of immortal beasts did not have spiritual intelligence, but many immortal beasts did. Therefore, the eastern region as a whole was powerful and chaotic. With so many powerful warriors, it was hard not to be chaotic. There are so many powerful warriors that are infinitely close to the complete completion. Luli walked around in the city and found that there were so many powerful warriors in the city. He could run into one at any time. Also, these powerful warriors did not seem to be of high status in the city. No wonder Lu Xiaobai was so arrogant and started wars everywhere. There were so many powerful warriors working for him. Luli met many immortal beasts along the way, but most of them had no intelligence. More than half of the intelligent ones might have come to serve here. Luli was a bit worried after he walked around. Even though he had entered the city, he found another city inside, the inner city. Lu Xiaobai was living in the inner city. It was very likely that those who were not Lu Xiaobai's family could not enter the inner city. There were more guards at the gate of the inner city. There must be many powerful warriors inside. If Luli dared to break in, he would be killed before he could say a word. Let me get some information first. Luli went to the biggest tavern in the city. He sat on the first floor and ordered some wine and food. He eavesdropped on the conversations of warriors in the tavern. Usually, a restaurant was the easiest place to get information. Luli used to like to bribe the waiters and maids to get information, but now, he didn't dare to do so. Lu Xiaobai's status was very high. Many martial artists here respected him. If he was discovered to be spying for information, he might be treated as a spy. At that time, he would be imprisoned or killed. There are martial artists monitoring me. All of a sudden, Luli sensed something strange. He felt there was a faintly discernible qi and energy passing by him. Either a warrior had noticed him or he was being watched. He didn't dare to act recklessly. So be it. He didn't do anything bad anyway. Even if a martial artist wanted to do something to him, they probably wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the city. After all, it was forbidden to use force in the city. Otherwise, no matter who it was, they would be killed. Have you heard? What about the ancient temple? Are you talking about the young human who can breathe fire? The young human who incinerated the ancient palace's elder? Yes. According to reliable information, that young human seems to have come to our place. It is said that this man is the descendant of a super old demon, a malefic star. At such a young age, he has been killing his way around. The ancient palace didn't provoke him, but he killed a powerful warrior. Yes, it is said that the ancient palace has given him a title, Fire Demon. He is less than 5,000 years old, but his combat ability is stronger than warriors who are close to the perfect realm. It is said that he may become the youngest perfect realm warrior in history. Bullshit, Fire Demon. How can he be compared with our young master? Our young master is the most abnormal genius. He is destined to rule the world in the future. Yes, if this Fire Demon dares to come to the Mystic Armor City, I will eat him alive. It was noisy in the tavern. Several groups of warriors were arguing. Luli touched his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed after listening for a while. He was here to get some information about Lu Xiaobai. He didn't expect that there was gossip about him here. There was information about Lu Xiaobai. Luli listened patiently. As long as it was related to Lu Xiaobai, he would remember it without missing a word. Unfortunately, there was not much to talk about here. It seemed that no one dared to talk about Lu Xiaobai. Even if some warriors mentioned Lu Xiaobai, it was just words of respect and flattery. Nothing useful could be heard. Luli sat here for 3 days. He ordered dozens of bottles of fine wine and ate tens of millions of celestial stones worth of food. More and more customers came to the restaurant. Luli didn't move. He just listened to them. He heard a lot about Lu Xiaobai, but it was not of much use. It couldn't prove anything, but he did get some information. First of all, Lu Xiaobai was a genius, a peerless genius. His combat ability was stronger than the average warriors who were close to the perfect realm. He had killed more than a dozen warriors who were close to the perfect realm since he started out. Secondly, Lu Xiaobai was young and arrogant. He liked to stir up trouble, but he could win every time because there were too many powerful warriors at the eastern region. Lu Xiaobai himself was strong as well. He had the powerful king of the eastern region behind him. Average warriors at the perfect realm didn't dare to mess with him. Warriors who were close to the perfect realm couldn't kill him. Thirdly, Lu Xiaobai had been challenging the son of the king of the northern region recently. Several forces under his command were fighting fiercely. Lu Xiaobai went there as well. He seemed to have gained something from the fight, so he came back to closed-door cultivation. He was still in closed-door cultivation. Apart from these 3 points, Luli didn't receive any other useful information. Some of the information was meaningless. For example, Lu Xiaobai was very handsome. Many young ladies of big families were chasing after him. Or Lu Xiaobai never showed any affection to those girls. The demon race could all transform. So how difficult would it be to become more handsome? Lu Xiaobai was the only son of the king of the eastern region. He had a high status. Even if he was ugly, young ladies of big families would chase after him, not to mention that he was handsome. Therefore, these pieces of information were meaningless. Luli had a headache. Lu Xiaobai seemed to be in closed-door cultivation. When would this seclusion end? What if he was in closed-door cultivation for a few years? Could it be that he had been waiting in the city all along? How could he have so many celestial stones to spend? He definitely couldn't enter the inner city of Xiaobai. With the current information, he couldn't confirm that Lu Xiaobai was Xiaobai, so he didn't dare to barge in. He could only continue to stay in the restaurant and continue to gather information. A month passed by quickly. Luli had been in the tavern for a month, but he didn't gain much. It could be confirmed that Lu Xiaobai was indeed in closed-door training, and it was very likely that he would not come out in a short period of time. This was because Lu Xiaobai had only been in closed-door training for a few years. Under normal circumstances, he would have been in closed-door training for at least 10 years. I can only wait outside. Luli sighed helplessly. He dared not to act rashly. Lu Xiaobai's men were ruthless. Nothing he said would work. He couldn't enter the inner city, so he couldn't see Lu Xiaobai. If he couldn't see Lu Xiaobai, he couldn't be sure if it was Xiaobai, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. All he could do now was wait outside the city, wait for Lu Xiaobai to wake up, and wait for him to leave the city. As long as Lu Xiaobai went out of the city, he could meet him and confirm that he was Xiaobai. Then everything else would be easy. Chapter 33:96. Luli left the city. There were many scouts and warriors outside the city. Luli couldn't just hide outside the city. He couldn't hide all the time, could he? If he didn't, then he would be discovered by the scouts, which would cause a lot of trouble. He couldn't go into the magic realm either. If he cultivated in there, he wouldn't know what was going on outside. What if Lu Xiaobai left the city of mystic armor after a few years of closed-door cultivation? Therefore, Luli decided to go to the black market. There were many rooms there. He could rent a room as long as he spent some celestial stones. What kind of business couldn't he do? Luli flew over and soon arrived at the hidden castle. He found the old man. Luli could come out safely because he didn't mess around in the city. The old man had already reported to the leader in the city, who arranged a warrior to watch over Luli. Therefore, the old man's attitude towards Luli was not so bad. After Luli made his intentions clear, the old man thought about it and said, "Sir, you are not renting a house. You need us to protect you for some time. You will be absolutely safe here. Of course, the rent will not be cheap. Name your price." Luli had some celestial stones with him, so he didn't mind. It was true that he couldn't rent a room here. He could enjoy their protection and wouldn't be disturbed by the outside world. "How long do you want to stay?" the old man asked. Luli was hesitating. The old man did some calculations and said, "No matter how long you want to stay, we will calculate it on a yearly basis. 10 billion celestial stones per year. What do you think?" "No problem. Lu Li was straightforward. He couldn't stay for long, and Lu Xiaobai couldn't stay in closed-door cultivation forever. Based on what Lu Li knew, Lu Xiaobai was not a man who could sit still. He would come out after a few years. Lu Li paid for 2 years. The old man was about to give Lu Li a room when Lu Li touched his nose and said, "Can you give me some information? I could give you 10 billion celestial stones." The old man looked at him and asked, "What information?" "I will be honest with you," Lu Li said with a straight face. "I am entrusted by my race to come and visit Lord Lu Xiaobai. So, when you come out from cultivation, please let me know. I will go to the city to deliver the invitation card to you." The old man pulled a long face and a glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He stared at Lu Li for a moment. Seeing that Lu Li's expressions didn't change, the old man nodded and said, "Okay, but I advise you not to mess around in the city of mystic armor. I can kill you easily." "Hee," Lu Li said with a smile. "You have seen my realm. Any one of you can kill me with my abilities. Do I dare to do anything evil? What evil could I do?" The old man thought about it and agreed. He arranged a warrior to take Lu Li down. Lu Li was taken to a small side chamber. The warrior said, "Chief Steward Chung said that, Lord. Please rest here and don't wander around. If you trespass into our forbidden area, it will be hard to talk to you." "Don't worry." Lu Li nodded and said, "I will cultivate here. I won't go anywhere." The warrior left. Lu Li activated the divine glyphs in the room and used psychic power to check. Zishi hadn't woken up yet. Lu Li left her alone and closed his eyes to cultivate and rest. Soon, more than 4 months had passed. There was no news from outside. Lu Li stopped to rest for a while. He used psychic power to check and found that Zishi had woken up. Buzzing, he let Zishi out. She hugged him happily and said, "Brother Lu, what is going on? Did you kill that powerful warrior?" "Yes." Lu Li nodded. He patted Zishi's head and said, "Don't worry. We are safe now. We are near the city of mystic armor." "City of mystic armor?" Zishi took out the map and looked at it. She said with confusion, "Brother Lu, are you going to stay here?" "I can't leave for now." Lu Li looked at the pitiful Zishi. He couldn't help but ask, "Where are you going?" Zishi pointed to a mountain on the map and said, "If I am right, this is where I want to go. There is still some distance from the city of mystic armor." Previously, Lu Li and Zishi had an agreement that they would travel together. Zishi didn't say that Lu Li had to take her to the place she wanted to go. Now that Lu Li had arrived at his destination, they should have parted ways under normal circumstances. Without Lu Li's protection, it was unlikely that Zishi could survive to get to the place she wanted to go from the city of mystic armor. Mount of Ghosts. Lu Li looked at the map. It was some distance from the city of mystic armor. At a normal speed, it would take him at least half a year to get there. Half a year was not a big deal. It would only take him a year to go back and forth. Lu Xiaobai might not come out from his closed-door cultivation. Lu Li was afraid that something would go wrong on the way. If he was trapped for hundreds of years, not to mention being killed, it would be troublesome. Therefore, he thought for a while and said, "How about you wait here? When I see the person I want to see, I will go with you." If Lu Xiaobai was Lu Xiaobai, then there would be no problem. If Lu Xiaobai was not Lu Xiaobai, then there was no point for Lu Li to stay here. There was no harm in going with Zishi. Zishi was touched and said, "Brother Lu, how long will it take?" Lu Li answered, "A year and a half at least, 3 to 5 years at most." "Okay." Zishi didn't hesitate. She would wait for a few years because it would be too dangerous for her to go alone. Only Lu Li could take her there. She was too weak, and she was just a little girl. Once she was in danger, she might be captured and then sold as a commodity. "Okay, go ahead with your closed-door cultivation." Lu Li didn't mind Zishi anymore. He told her to stay here and not to run around. Zishi sat next to Lu Li and cultivated. Lu Li didn't go out either. Anyway, when Lu Xiaobai came out, the steward outside would inform him. Lu Li had been staying here, which made the stewards of the castle let down their guard a little. However, Chief Steward Chung had arranged a warrior to keep an eye on Lu Li in case he would act recklessly. Lu Li continued to refine his body and cultivate at the same time, trying to understand Taoists. He had learned two types of Taoists, the Great Heaven Tao of Ancestor Hao and the Life and Death Tao of Yin Emperor. Luli had only scratched the surface of the two Taoists. He didn't want to learn them completely. He felt neither was suitable for him. He wanted to learn from the two Taoists and see if he could learn a Tao that belonged to him. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 8 months had passed. Luli had been cultivating in there for a year. He stopped and went out to find the guard who was watching him and asked some questions. Lu Xiaobai was still in closed-door cultivation. Luli had to go back to cultivate. Zishi had been cultivating as well, but her realm didn't improve. She was still at the initial stage of the Emperor realm. After more than half a year of closed-door cultivation, Luli was finally woken up. A warrior walked in. First, he looked at Zishi with curiosity and then said with a straight face, "Chief Steward Chung asked me to inform you that young master is out of closed-door cultivation." P.S. Chapter 4. Chapter 3397. Lu Xiaobai had come out from cultivation. Luli was excited. He put away Zishi and walked out. He found Chief Steward Chung and asked for another token to enter the city. Chief Steward Chung didn't mind that he could earn celestial stones. He had a token made for Lu Li and repeatedly told Lu Li not to act recklessly. He said that he would inform the guards in the city to keep an eye on Lu Li. If Lu Li acted recklessly, the guard would not show him any mercy and would kill him right away. Lu Li knew that Chief Steward Chung would not be an alarmist. He and Lu Li were not friends. They were only partners. What could Lu Li do to him? Lu Li didn't mind. He didn't want to act recklessly. After the token was made, he left the castle and entered the city. As soon as he entered the city, he sensed that some warriors were watching him. He didn't mind and walked toward the inner city. There were 10 Saint Kings guarding at the gate of the inner city. The leader was at the later stage of the Saint King realm. Seeing Lu Li coming, the 10 Saint Kings put up their guard and looked at Lu Li. At the moment, Lu Li also sensed that a warrior who was almost at the peak of the Saint King realm was looking at him. If he dared to do anything, he would be killed right away. "Stop!" the Saint King shouted. Lu Li stopped at the gate. He didn't bow. Instead, he said with pride, "I am from the Cloud King city at the southern border. By order of my master, I am here to see Lord Lu Xiaobai. I have something to discuss with him. Please let him know." Ha ha ha. Lu Li's words didn't catch the attention of the 10 Saint Kings. Instead, some of them laughed as if they were watching a monkey dancing. "Ridiculous. Piss off," a Saint King scolded. "Is this a place where you can come? From the Cloud King city? Don't tell me you are a patriarch of the Yun family. Scram as far as you can, or I'll kill you." Lu Li didn't show any sign of weakness. He snorted, "I am not a patriarch of the Yun family, but I am not a nobody either. If I want to kill you, I can do it with a flick of my fingers." Ha ha ha. The 10 Saint Kings didn't burst into anger. Instead, they laughed. Lu Li didn't use the skill of transfiguration. Instead, he showed his original appearance, which was still at the Emperor realm. He was hoping to attract Lu Xiaobai's attention. When the time came, as long as his divine were locked onto him, Lu Xiaobai would definitely recognize him if he was Xiaobai. The late Saint King sneered, "I'll stand right here. If you can kill me, I'll get them to let you into the inner city. What do you think?" Swish, swish, swish. The commotion here had attracted the attention of many martial artists. Some martial artists walked over while many of them used their spiritual wills to probe. Lu Li noticed that more psychic powers were coming from the inner city. They were all powerful warriors. Unfortunately, there was no aura he was familiar with, so Lu Xiaobai did not probe with his divine sense. Lu Li sneered and shouted, "Can violence be used in the city? If I kill you, won't the experts in your city be furious?" Come, come, come. The late Saint King curled his finger. "As long as you can kill me, we can guarantee that you can enter the inner city. The experts in the city definitely won't mind." "I don't believe you," Lu Li said with pride. "If any big shot from the inner city gives me a guarantee, I will do it. Also, if I can't kill you, I am willing to die. Deal?" Lu Li's words caused an uproar. Was Luli tired of living? A great emperor dared to challenge a late Saint King? If Luli didn't want to die, then he must have something up his sleeves. The smiles on the 10 Saint Kings' faces froze. However, the words had been spoken, and many warriors in the city were paying attention. How could this late Saint King back down? The problem was that Luli needed a powerful warrior to guarantee it. Was he going to ask a powerful warrior to guarantee it? He snorted and said, "Why do I need a guarantee? You and I can fight outside the city. If you can kill me, we will let you into the inner city." Okay, Luli shouted and strode out of the city. The Saint King thought about it and rushed out. The guards of the inner city came out with several Saint Kings. Many warriors in the city came out to watch. It was rare for a great emperor to challenge a late Saint King, especially when this great emperor was from the Cloud King city. They had nothing to do in the city anyway. They might as well go out and watch a circus. A group of warriors rushed out. Soon, tens of thousands of warriors gathered outside the city. There were also scouts outside who saw the situation and came over. The late Saint King stood proudly in the air. He looked at Luli coldly and said, "I will let you attack 3 times first. Otherwise, people will say that the Mystic Armor City is bullying you." Okay, Luli smiled. He then flew up and slowly flew toward the late Saint King. The late Saint King didn't dodge. An earthen yellow halo lit up around him, and he stood proudly in the air. He looked a little like a lion watching a lamb charge at him with its horns on its head. This was what the countless warriors nearby felt. They felt like they were watching a show, a monkey's show. Luli flew slowly. He didn't stop when he was 300 meters away from the late Saint King. He didn't attack either. He just flew forward. The nearby cultivators blinked their eyes in embarrassment. Was Luli going to punch a late Saint King in the chest like a shrew? The late Saint King didn't care. He looked at Luli with a smile. He was just waiting for Luli to attack. Let alone 300 meters. He could easily dodge even if Luli was 3 meters away. 800 meters, 150 meters, 30 meters. Luli was already very close. He was about to reach the late Saint King in the next second. He finally moved at this moment. 2 streaks of light lit up in his eyes before disappearing with a flash. Afterward, Luli moved with a flash, and the divine liquid of destruction lit up in his hand. He gently placed it outside the yellow circle of light. Bang! The yellow halo exploded, and the divine liquid of destruction in Luli's hand disappeared. He grabbed the late Saint King's neck, and his hand glowed with a faint black light. If he moved, the Saint King's neck would shatter. Ugh! Luli's attack only lasted for a second. Before many warriors could react, Luli's hand was already on the Saint King's neck. The late Saint King also returned to his senses at this moment. He felt the fatal danger from the hand, and his expression changed drastically. "Don't move." Luli's icy voice rang out. He said, "Since I can break through your defenses easily, I can obviously crush your neck and crush your head. Don't doubt my battle prowess. I've killed many warriors at your level. I've even killed one that was infinitely close to great perfection." What? An uproar immediately broke out in the surroundings. If Luli had not shown this earlier, they probably would have thought that he was joking. Now, however, they all felt that it was true. An Emperor Realm warrior could kill a late Saint King in a head-on confrontation. It was not impossible for him to kill an expert that was infinitely close to great perfection. Swish. Luli retreated 3 kilometers and stood in the air. Afterward, black flames emerged from his body. The terrifying heat wave immediately caused the surrounding warriors to retreat in fright. Their eyes were filled with shock as if they had seen a ghost. Luli looked around and said proudly, "Do I have the right to enter the inner city? Do I have the right to see Lord Lu Xiaobai?" Chapter 3398. Black Flames. Many Saint Emperors were scared. Flames of fatal danger rose up in their hearts. All the warriors remembered a rumor they heard a while ago about a powerful warrior, Fire Demon. Seeing these flames, many martial artists were certain that the rumors were true. These flames had No problem incinerating powerhouses that were infinitely close to the great perfection realm. There were some hidden warriors that were close to the perfect realm. They felt death would be the only outcome if they were hit by the flame. Luli had the ability to kill a warrior that was close to the perfect realm, but that didn't mean he had the right to meet Lu Xiaobai. At this moment, when he shouted such words, coupled with the previous bet, it did have a different kind of momentum. Unfortunately, the latter stage, Saint Emperor, could not make the decision. He didn't even have the right to let Lu Li into the inner city. What if Lu Li was an assassin sent by the enemy to kill Lu Xiaobai with the black flames? The latter stage, Saint Emperor's face turned pale. He felt he was not only a clown, but also in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. Buzzing. At this moment, the air rippled and a brown-bearded old man appeared. With his appearance, the late Saint King and many other soldiers immediately dropped to one knee and called out, "We greet Sir Yu. This Lord Yu must be an immortal beast because of his might." Lu Li and Lord Yu looked at each other. Lord Yu said, "Are you from the Cloud King city? What can I do for you to meet our young master?" Lu Li thought about it and said, "Please wait a moment." He took out a brush and paper and started to draw on it. His drawing skills were not bad. He first drew a little beast. It was drawn very vividly, exactly the same as Xiao Bai. Then he began to draw the background, which was the Dilong tribe. He also drew a portrait of himself and Lu Ling. In the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Lu Li finished the drawing. It was crude and the details were not perfect, but people could still recognize him and Little White. Lu Li put away the drawing into a box and threw it to Lord Yu. "Please give this to Lord Lu Xiaobai. He will understand when he sees it, and he will let me in." "Oh." Lord Yu didn't go in right away. He asked, "Do you know our young master?" Lu Li was 80% sure that Lu Xiaobai was Lu Xiaobai. He nodded and said, "Lu Xiaobai and I are old acquaintances and good friends. Once he sees the box, he will naturally come out and recognize me." "All right." Lord Yu nodded and said, "I hope that you won't make a fool out of this king. Otherwise, if this young lord gets angry, this king can only look for trouble with you." Lu Li nodded slightly. Lord Yu flew in at once. The group of martial artists outside began to whisper to each other. They had never heard of Lu Xiao by having any friends. This fire demon had only recently become famous. How could he have a friendship with Lu Xiaobai? More importantly, Lu Li said he was from the Cloud King city. The eastern region and the southern region were hostile. When the eastern region invaded the southern region, the Cloud King city was almost flattened. Many powerful warriors of the Yun family were killed. How could Lu Xiaobai be friends with warriors of the Yun family? All the experts waited silently for Lu Xiaobai's response. After Lord Yu entered, he waited for a full hour, but there was no news. Lu Li was confused. The discussion of the warriors outside was getting louder. They looked at Lu Li unkindly. If Lu Li and Lu Xiaobai were friends, then Lord Yu would have come out by now. Lu Li's mind was weighed down. If Lu Xiaobai was Little White, he would have come out as soon as he saw Lu Li's scroll. Why was there no response after an hour? Could it be that Lu Xiaobai was not Little White? Was he wrong? While Lu Li was wondering, a ray of light flew over. Lord Yu came out. He looked at Lu Li emotionlessly and said, "I am sorry. Our young lord doesn't want to see you. Please leave." Eh? Lu Li was shocked. He still couldn't believe it. Lu Xiaobai didn't want to see him? Then Lu Xiaobai was not Little White. Lu Li's previous guesses were all wrong. If he was not Little White, then why was his surname Lu? Why was he called Little White? Why was this place called the Mystic Armor City? Lu Li suddenly felt the world was spinning. He had gone through so much trouble to get to the eastern region only to end up like this. How could he be reconciled to this? He even wanted to rush into the city and meet this Lu Xiaobai in person so that he could give up. I told you. How can a warrior of the Yun family know our young lord? Does he have the right? Do you know our young lord? What is he? How dare he say he knows our young lord? Is he trying to flatter himself? That's right. I suggest we kill this arrogant man. Who does he think he is to swagger around at the Mystic Armor City? Sarcasm and sarcasm came from all directions. Many warriors even had ferocious looks in their eyes. If Lord Yu gave the order, all of them would swarm up and chop Luli into pieces. Lord Yu waved his hand to tell the warriors to calm down. He looked at Luli and said, "Sir, please go back. You are not welcome at the Mystic Armor City." Lord Yu's tone became cold. His meaning was clear. If Luli continued to pester them endlessly, they would take action. The other escorts looked at him coldly as well. Luli exhaled, bowed and said, "Lord Yu, can you give me a chance to see Lord Lu Xiaobai?" "No," Lord Yu said with certainty. "You are not welcome at the Mystic Armor City. From now on, you're not allowed to enter the Mystic Armor City. Please leave now, or you will become our enemy." Buzzing, as soon as Lord Yu finished his words, many warriors nearby took out their weapons and stared at Lu Li with hostility. If Lu Li dared to say anything else, the warriors would attack him. "Fine." Lu Li forced a smile. He flew to the west in a blur and soon disappeared into the horizon. Lord Yu watched as Lu Li left. After a while, he said to a powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm nearby, "Go and monitor him. See if he is hiding nearby. If he is, drive him away." "Yes." The powerful warrior nodded and then disappeared to chase after Lu Li. However, after chasing for an hour, he lost track of Lu Li. Lu Li was not fast. The powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm caught up with him as soon as Lu Li left. He could catch up with Lu Li easily. But now he lost track of Lu Li. Was Lu Li a hidden, powerful warrior? The powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm didn't give up. He began to search nearby and inform scouts. But after 7 or 8 days, they couldn't find Lu Li. The powerful warrior had come back to report. It seemed that Lu Li had left. Lord Yu didn't say anything. He just nodded and left the warrior alone. He just told people to keep an eye on the surveillance in the city and not to let Lu Li sneak into the city. Lu Li could kill a powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm, but there were many powerful warriors of this realm in the city. Even if Lu Li sneaked in, he would only be courting death. Chapter 3399. Lu Li didn't leave. He came here from hundreds of millions of miles away. How could he leave without even seeing Lu Xiaobai? Moreover, there were clearly some suspicious points just now. How could it take an hour to send a letter? Lu Xiaobai said he didn't want to see him. Under normal circumstances, if Lu Xiaobai didn't want to see him, it would mean that Lu Li was lying and that Lu Xiaobai and Lu Xiaobai were not old friends. Since they were not old acquaintances, then the powerful warriors of the city of Mystic Armor would be unhappy with Lu Li. If Lu Li were Lord Yu, he would have taken actions. Lu Li would have been captured and interrogated to see if he was a spy. What was his purpose in pretending to be Lu Xiaobai's old friend? An hour of delivering a letter and then seeing Lu Li off? Lu Li didn't get angry. There must be something wrong. Lu Li guessed. Lu Xiaobai probably didn't read his letter. Therefore, before he met Lu Xiaobai, Lu Li would not leave. He only went to the Dharma realm after traveling for millions of miles. That was the reason why the most powerful warrior couldn't find Lu Li. Not even dozens of powerful warriors could find Lu Li, let alone one. Lu Li waited patiently for a few days. Making sure that there were not many powerful warriors following him, he sneaked out. He didn't go to the Mystic Armor City. Instead, he went directly to the north. According to the information he got, Lu Xiaobai was fighting with the son of the king of the north. If Lu Xiaobai wanted to go to the battlefield, he would definitely go from the north. Of course, there might be a teleportation altar in the Mystic Armor City that could teleport them to the big cities in the north. In that case, Lu Li would have to go to the battlefield in the north. Since they had come all the way to the eastern region, how could they retreat so easily? He would never go back without seeing Lu Xiaobai. He went to a small city to the north of the Mystic Armor City. One could enter that city by paying celestial stones. No token was needed. He disguised himself as a demon, and the beast mite on his body was very dense. This way, he would not be conspicuous. It was easy for him to inquire about Lu Xiaobai's situation in the city. Of course, he did not dare to inquire about Lu Xiaobai's situation. It was easy to attract the attention of Lu Xiaobai's subordinates. There must be a large number of his subordinates in this city, and there must be a lot of hidden scouts. After waiting in the city for more than 10 days, Lu Li received some news. There was no need to inquire about this news, because all the martial artists in the city were discussing it. This left Lu Li speechless. Lu Xiaobai left. It was said that Lu Xiaobai's battle strength had increased tremendously after he came out of seclusion. This time, he swore to beat up the king of the northern region's son. Since the news had spread all over the city, there was no need to question the authenticity of the news. Lu Xiaobai must have left. With Lu Xiaobai's restless personality, it was easy to guess that he would go to the battlefield after coming out of seclusion and becoming much stronger. Lu Li was troubled. The battlefield was at the junction of the northern region and the eastern region, which was far away from here. Under normal circumstances, it would take Lu Li more than a year to get there without any problems. The eastern region was in such a mess. Lu Li almost died when he came here. Now that he had to go to the far north, Lu Li would have a bigger headache. He looked at the map and finally decided to go to the Ghost God Mountain first. The Ghost God Mountain was in the northwest. He would first send Zixi to the Ghost God Mountain before going to the battlefield in the north. Lu Li sighed. Why did Lord Yu hide the news? He was sure that Lord Yu had never given the letter to Lu Xiaobai. Could it be that Lord Yu didn't want Little White to have anything to do with the previous people? Lu Li wouldn't take Little White away. He just wanted to make sure if it was Little White. Then he would be at ease. What a pain in the ass. Lu Li scratched his head in distress. Then he went directly to the magic realm to rest. He had to recharge and build up his strength before he set off. There were no commercial ships at the eastern region. Even if there were, Lu Li wouldn't dare to take one. After 3 days of rest, Lu Li set off again. It was not an easy journey. If you're going back, it would be easier for him. However, he was going to the north, which meant that he was getting further and further away from the Milky Way city. Lu Li let Zixi out and asked her to sense the surroundings. Hearing that they were going to the Ghost God Mountain, Zixi asked with curiosity, "Brother Lu, have you met the person you wanted to see?" "No," Lu Li said in frustration. "Not yet. He has gone to the north. I will send you to the Ghost God Mountain first, and then I will go to the north to find him." Seeing that Lu Li was in a bad mood, Zixi comforted him. "Brother Lu, don't worry. When I finish my business at the Ghost God Mountain, I will go to the north with you." "Finished?" Lu Li frowned and asked, "How long will it take you to get to the Ghost God Mountain? If it is too long, then I can't wait." "I don't know." Zixi shook her head and said, "I don't think it will be too long. I just keep dreaming about this mountain, so I just want to go and have a look. If there is nothing else, I will just take a look and then leave. Even if there is an epiphany, it will be half a month at most. If it is more than half a month, Brother Lu, you can leave by yourself. Don't worry about Zixi." "Okay." Lu Li nodded and said, "I will wait for you for 3 months. If you still can't get it done in 3 months, then I will have to leave by myself." Lu Li couldn't wait forever. What if Zixi spent dozens of years on the Ghost God Mountain? Would he have to wait forever? Lu Li and Zixi were only partners. At most, he liked this little girl, but he couldn't let this little girl interfere with his business. The two hurried on. With Zixi scouting, Lu Li was much more relaxed. Along the way, they tried their best to avoid the dangerous places. They stayed away from mountains, rivers, swamps, and abysses. It was safer this way. They ran into some warriors on the way, but Zixi sensed them in advance. Lu Li would take a detour. If they couldn't, they would hide or enter the Dharma realm. If Zixi was tired, then Lu Li would use the trace of Tao and take turns to scout. Neither of them would be tired. They walked on easily for more than half a month before they ran into trouble. There were also immortal beasts and ferocious beasts in front of them, which made Lu Li and Zixi confused. Immortal beasts wouldn't go on a rampage for no reason. They had encountered it once before. With Zixi here, there was nothing to worry about. If Zixi was too tired, Lu Li would go into the Dharma realm and wait for her to recover before continuing. After more than half a month, they successfully passed through the area of immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. There are fewer powerful warriors at the north, and I didn't run into any old demons. Are they all mobilized to the battlefield at the north? After more than 4 months, Luli found that there were fewer powerful warriors on the way. Even though they had avoided many mountains, swamps, and some paradises, under normal circumstances, they would run into many powerful warriors on the way. Luli was happy that there were fewer warriors. He didn't think too much and just kept a low profile. He would rather spend more time than take risks. Whenever he felt it was dangerous, he would go around it. Brother Lu, after another month, Zishi looked at the map and said, "We are not far away now. We will reach the Ghost God Mountain in half a month. It is so peaceful. It is unbelievable." "That is good." Luli exhaled. If they could reach the Ghost God Mountain, then they could reach the battlefield at the north. Even though it took some time, it was okay as long as nothing went wrong. Chapter 3400. The Mountain of Creatures was famous nearby, even in the eastern region. Not every mountain could have this name. This place was also a famous dangerous place at the eastern region. Not even Saint Kings dared to go deep into it. This place was not the graveyard of a famous powerful warrior. Instead, no powerful warriors or old demons were stationed here in history, because this place was strange, very strange. Ghosts and gods were uneasy. This was how the Mountain of Creatures got its name. It was said that even ghosts and gods would cry and fall in this place. Some warriors at the absolute completion of the Mountain of Creatures had gone in, but they came out not long after. They left a message that only warriors at the absolute completion of the Mountain of Creatures should not go in. Otherwise, they would have a nervous breakdown. That's right, a nervous breakdown. It was said that there was a natural formation here that could not be cracked or destroyed. Any living being that went would be affected. It was not a big deal for them to become crazy. It was normal for their souls to collapse and die. Many ferocious beasts died when they went in. This place became a famous place of evil. Not even ghosts and gods dared to go in. Luli and Zishi didn't know much about the Mountain of Creatures. They asked around in a small town near the Mountain of Creatures and got some information about the Mountain of Creatures. "Do you still want to go?" Luli looked at Zishi and said seriously, "I don't know how strong your soul power is, but it must be dangerous for you to go in since even warriors at the absolute completion of the Mountain of Creatures can't stand it. Also, are you sure that the mountain in your dream is the Mountain of Creatures?" Luli still couldn't make heads or tails of this. A little girl from one of the 8 galaxies came all the way here just because she saw a mountain in her dream? This mountain was famous for being a dangerous place, which made Luli feel strange. "Go," Zishi said resolutely. "I will go even if I have to die. I will not be at ease for the rest of my life if I don't go and have a look. As for whether it is the mountain in my dream or not, I will have to go and see for myself." "Okay." Luli didn't try to persuade her. He patted Zishi's head and said, "Zishi, have a good sleep. When you wake up, we will go. I will wait for you outside for 3 months." "Okay." Zishi obediently walked to the bed and fell asleep. Luli, on the other hand, continued to read about the Mountain of Ghosts and Gods. He would definitely not go in there. He was no longer alone. Not to mention the Grim Reaper, Mo Qianqian, Wan Shi, and Yu Yang were all waiting for him to return. Terrifying. Luli read the information carefully. Over the past 10,000 years, more than a dozen warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm had gone in, but none of them came out. This place was too terrifying. If Zishi went in, she might not be able to come out. Sigh. I hope she's blessed by the heavens. Luli could only pray to himself. On second thought, he thought of Zishi's strange ability. Maybe she would not necessarily die if she went in, or maybe she would have some great fortune after she went in. Zishi woke up after 3 days of sleep. Luli took her all the way to the back. After walking for 3 days, they finally saw the mountain that was said to be able to make ghosts and gods cry. The mountain was black, and from afar, it looked like a giant standing in the distance. The entire mountain was shrouded in a faint black fog, and even the sky nearby seemed to darken a bit. Standing at the foot of the mountain, there was a kind of chilly feeling, and it was very uncomfortable. "Here it is." Zishi put on a gentle smile. She looked like an elf of the night. The nearby wind was very strong, causing Zishi's hair to flutter in the air. Her eyes were sparkling like the stars. Luli asked with curiosity, "Can you feel anything different here? Do you hear something calling?" "Yes." Zishi's face was flushed. She was very excited. She said, "I can feel that the mountain is very excited. It seems to be cheering for my arrival. There is something familiar to me here. It is very possible that there are people of my race here." "Ancestors?" Lu Li's eyes flickered. Somehow he was relieved. Maybe there was a super powerful warrior of the Chinya race buried in the Ghost Mountain. She let her descendants come here to accept the legacy through the connection between their bloodlines. It is possible. The more Luli thought about it, the more likely it was. The Chinya race was an ancient race and a super mysterious one. There were all kinds of strange things in the world. It was normal to call for descendants through the connection between their bloodlines. "Brother Lu." Zishi turned around and looked at Lu Li. Then she bowed and said, "Brother Lu, thank you for protecting me along the way. If I die in there, I will repay you in my next life. If I can come out alive, I will follow you for 1,000 years to repay you." Lu Li smiled. He squatted down and touched Zishi's face. He said seriously, "Zishi, you don't have to be so polite. You have helped me a lot along the way. Without me, you wouldn't have made it to the city of mystic armor so smoothly. So, don't talk about repaying me. I hope you can come out alive, and I am happy to be with you." "Okay." Zishi smiled. Then she turned around and walked towards the ghost mountain slowly. Halfway there, she turned back and smiled sweetly. She waved to Lu Li and said, "Brother Lu, wait for me. I will find a way out in 3 months." "I will wait for you." Lu Li nodded. He had thought of waiting for 3 months, but now he had decided to wait for 5 months. 2 more months was not a big deal. He would just take it as protecting this cute little girl for 2 more months. The night was getting darker. A little girl walked towards the depth of the mountain step by step. She was getting smaller and smaller. There was a strange chi field in the ghost mountain. Psychic power could not reach inside. Luli couldn't even activate the Mark of Tao. Luli saw Zishi getting smaller and smaller. Eventually, she disappeared into the depth of the mountain as if she was swallowed by the beast. He stood at the foot of the mountain and waited quietly. He sensed the situation of the ghost mountain. Woo, woo, woo. All of a sudden, a strange sound came from the ghost mountain. It was like ghosts crying and wolves howling. At first, it was soft, and then it got louder and louder. Lu Li's hair stood on end. He even had the urge to rush in. It was as if as soon as Zishi entered the mountain, she had called out all the wandering ghosts in there. The wandering ghosts were rushing towards Zishi, trying to eat her alive. Luli didn't know what to feel when he thought of an elf-like little girl facing such a situation. The howling of ghosts and wolves was getting louder and louder. It could be heard from thousands of miles away. At the same time, dark fog came out from the mountain of supernatural beings and enveloped the entire mountain. Luli could feel a surge of energy coming out from the mountain. It was as if a ghost king was coming out. Even Luli felt a chill down his spine. Luli held a jade talisman tightly in his hand. That was Zishi's jade talisman of life. If the jade talisman was broken, it would mean that Zishi was dead. It was not broken yet. Luli's body was tense. While hiding, he murmured, "Zishi, you must be okay. I am waiting for you to follow me for 1,000 years. M." Chapter 34:01. The abnormality in the mountain of creatures alarmed many warriors nearby. They sent the news back, and many forces swarmed over. There would be no abnormality in any place for no reason. Either there was a treasure or there was a demon. Either way, attention must be paid. In just 7 or 8 days, tens of thousands of warriors had come. 7 or 8 powerful warriors that were close to the perfect realm came. However, none of them dared to go in rashly. They just stayed outside and stayed on guard. Luli was hiding in a corner, a warrior of the Emperor realm. There were scouts around, so he looked inconspicuous. None of the warriors paid attention to Luli. Luli didn't dare to go into the mountain of creatures. He had to wait outside in silence. He was anxious, but he didn't show it. The mountain of creatures was completely shrouded by the black mist. The howls of ghosts and wolves were getting louder and louder. The pressure inside was getting more and more horrifying. Many warriors of low realms were trembling with fear. They were afraid that a demon would come out and tear them apart. Half a month. Zishi had been in there for half a month. Somehow, Luli felt relieved because Zishi's jade talisman of life was still intact. Zishi was not very powerful, but she could survive in there for half a month. This was enough to explain many things. Of course, they couldn't rule out the possibility that Zishi had been captured by the peerless, ferocious creature inside. That ferocious creature didn't immediately eat Zishi, but imprisoned her. Perhaps it was slowly absorbing Zishi's body? That is possible. Luli became nervous on the thought of this. Maybe the Chinya race had some strange powers, and there was a ferocious monster in the mountain of ghosts. Maybe the Chinya race used some strange means to lure the Chinya race warriors here and then devoured them. Either way, Luli didn't dare to go in. He had a strong feeling that even a warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not survive, let alone him. More and more warriors gathered around. There were more than 100,000 of them. The black mist of the mountain of creatures had covered an area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Lu Li and the others were forced to step back for fear that they would be swallowed up by the black mist. Some big clans had already sent scouts in to investigate. Those powerhouses didn't dare to go in, but it didn't matter if they sent some low-level martial artists in. If they died, they died. What if they could find useful information? In the end, these forces were very disappointed. After all the cultivators went in, not a single one came out. There was no news of them either. It was as if they had disappeared after going in. No one knew if they were alive or dead. 1 month later, something strange happened again. The black mist that shrouded the ghost god mountain suddenly surged. The black mist condensed in the air and turned into a human figure. It was the figure of a woman. Luli glanced over and was shocked. He could vaguely see Zishi's appearance in the woman's shadow. It was more like a larger Zishi magnified countless times. The black shadow danced gracefully in the air, like a fairy in the night sky, full of a strange aura. Moreover, this figure had an inexplicable magic power that seemed to be able to suck in people's souls. No, Luli suddenly came back to his senses. He felt his soul energy was disappearing. He closed his eyes at once and used the trace of Tao to check. He found that his soul energy was disappearing. There seemed to be some invisible threads in the air that were pulling the souls of the warriors and absorbing their soul energy silently. Retreat, all of you. Retreat now, or our souls will be sucked dry. Retreat. There is something wrong with this shadow. Run. Several angry shouts came from all directions. They were the shouts of warriors that were close to the absolute completion. Many warriors came back to their senses and tried to retreat. However, at this moment, all the warriors, including the warriors that were close to the absolute completion, could not move. What is going on? Damn it. Why is this happening? We're going to die. We're going to die. Many people shouted and cried out in alarm. Even the warriors that were close to the absolute completion could not move. This was so strange that it could not be explained with common sense. What is going on? Many warriors turned pale with fright. Their eyes were filled with fear. At the moment, there were 170,000 or 180,000 warriors nearby. There were 8 warriors that were close to the absolute completion and countless saint kings. None of them could move. They could only watch as their soul energy was being drained away. Why is this happening? This was the question on the minds of all the warriors. They were tens of thousands of miles away. Just because there was a shadow made of black air in the air, all the warriors could not move? Was that shadow a warrior at the absolute completion? Luli could not move either. This was the strangest thing he had ever seen in his life. There were more than 100,000 warriors. More importantly, there were warriors that were close to the absolute completion. What kind of powerful strength was this? It was estimated that only powerhouses at the Great Perfection realm could achieve this. She had become a warrior at the absolute completion? Luli would not believe this. A warrior at the initial stage of the Emperor realm could become a warrior at the absolute completion after a month in the Mountain of Supernatural Beings? Not even a child would believe this, let alone Luli. Whatever. Luli did not want to think too much. At this rate, his soul energy would be drained as well. With an idea, he vanished into the air and entered the realm of Dharma. The realm of Dharma was miraculous. Warriors close to the absolute completion could not move, but Luli could. When he came in, he was relieved to find that his soul energy was not drained away. He activated the marks of the Great Tao to sense the situation outside. Countless martial artists outside were panicking and began to think of ways to escape. Many martial artists released secret techniques, some struggled with all their might, and some yelled and screamed. None could get away. There seemed to be an invisible force field. It was more like an immortal had released his might to suppress the mortals. No matter how the warriors struggled or what skills they used, they could not move. They could not even move for dozens of feet. The best they could do was to open their mouths and scream. 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours. Luli had been checking for 6 hours. He felt he had fallen into hell. He watched as countless warriors' soul energy was sucked away. Gradually, their screams became softer and softer. In the end, their souls collapsed. Before they died, their faces were twisted and their eyes were wide open, filled with fear. In merely 6 hours, more than half of the 100,000 warriors had died. The ones that survived were weak. Not many of them could still scream. This place had turned into hell. What Luli sensed made his hair stand on end. The 8 who were infinitely close to the consummate level were all panicking. Even though they had already used special methods to send a message back to the powerhouses of their clans to think of a solution, they had an inexplicable feeling that perhaps none of them would be able to escape and that they would all die here. In the air, that slim figure was still dancing. It was still nighttime. Coupled with the scene, it was particularly creepy. Chapter 34:02. The unusual movements of Mount Ghost God caused the surrounding area to tremble. All the nearby great forces and great clans and old devils received the message for help, and countless powerhouses rushed here, including 3 great consummate powerhouses. However, something that shocked countless experts happened. A black barrier of light appeared outside the mountain, and this barrier contained a kind of invisible magic power. Even Paragon-level experts were unable to enter it. This wasn't the light barrier of divine patterns, but a special kind of power, the power of heaven and earth. This was a powerful barrier formed by the power of heaven and earth. 3 Paragon-level experts might be able to break it, but they would need time, at least half a month. Many experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon level began to attack, releasing all kinds of fierce attacks. Those 3 Paragon-level experts didn't make a move, but they also began to observe the situation of the light barrier and secretly use their methods to break it. Dozens of experts infinitely close to the Paragon level and thousands of Saint Emperors began to attack, and the color of the light barrier gradually faded. Even if the Paragon-level experts didn't attack, this light barrier would probably disappear in a month at most. Half a month later, a Paragon-level expert couldn't help but make a move. He walked out of the void, but only a shadow of his body could be seen. He placed one hand on the outside of the light barrier, and then the light barrier fluctuated violently, like water ripples. At this moment, the number of martial artists gathered in the surroundings had reached over 1 million. Countless martial artists from the nearby forces of all sizes had come, and they all looked at that Paragon-level expert. Their hearts were filled with anticipation, but also a little uneasy. What exactly happened here? Why were there so many requests for help? Why was the light barrier here so powerful? Could it be that there was a Paragon-level expert inside? In just half a day, the light barrier suddenly trembled violently, and then it disappeared without a trace. The scene inside also appeared in front of the martial artists. Countless divine senses swept over, but their souls trembled violently. Hell, the shocking scene didn't make the martial artists outside angry, but they felt horrified. More than 100,000 martial artists inside had all died, and not a single one was left. Those 8 experts infinitely close to the Paragon level had also died. Their faces were twisted, and their eyes were wide open. There was even fear in their eyes, as if they had seen the most terrifying scene in the world before they died. Experts infinitely close to the Paragon level. How stable were their mental states and Tao hearts? Death was nothing to them, but they actually revealed such expressions before they died. What exactly had they experienced? What did he see? What surprised the martial artists outside the most was that this group of powerhouses didn't resist at all. There were no signs of a large-scale battle nearby, and none of the martial artists had any wounds on their bodies. They just felt like they had died inexplicably. Their souls have completely collapsed. A Saint Emperor cried out in alarm. Not only this Saint Emperor, but many other Saint Emperors and experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon realm had also sensed it. More than 100,000 martial artists had died because their souls had collapsed. Their souls have dried up and their soul power has been sucked dry. Another powerhouse cried out in alarm. In fact, many powerhouses had also discovered this point. More than 1 million martial artists outside looked at each other in shock. Could it be that there's a great perfection old devil here, sucking the souls of all the martial artists? Perhaps there's a peerless monster? A ghost that absorbs souls? Ghost God Mountain, there are gods and ghosts here. There must be a ghost king here. Now that the ghost king has appeared, the entire immortal realms will be thrown into chaos. A supreme ghost king wreaks havoc under the heavens. Is the immortal realms going to be the same as the 4th heavenly layer in the past? If this is really the case, then is there any place in the entire great world that is safe? Countless discussions sounded in the surroundings. Many martial artists revealed panic in their eyes. Especially when the matter of the Ghost King was mentioned, it made many martial artists even more terrified. The most important thing was that the world above the 4th heavenly layer had collapsed inexplicably. Many martial artists naturally felt uneasy when they thought of this. Don't spread rumors. A cold voice sounded directly in the ears of all the martial artists. This voice had an inexplicable magical power that calmed the hearts of all the martial artists. The voice continued, "It's nothing more than some demons and monsters causing trouble. All of you retreat 1,000,000 miles and seal off the surroundings. The 3 of us will go explore and kill the demons and monsters inside." Yes, countless martial artists shouted. A great perfection old devil had spoken, and all the martial artists inexplicably became confident. That's right, there were 3 great perfection old devil here. Even if there was a great perfection old devil inside the Ghost God Mountain, so what? The 3 great perfection old devils here could easily kill him. The main force began to retreat. Of course, some martial artists were organized to go in and take away the bones. When the bones were taken away, nothing happened inside. The black haze that covered an area of tens of thousands of miles had shrunk as well. It only covered the Ghost God Mountain. The bodies were put into the interspatial rings. Soon, the main force began to retreat. They dared not to disobey the orders of the great perfection old devils. They also believed that the 3 great perfection old devils could kill the demons. They dared not to linger around. When the great perfection old devils fought, the repercussions could kill all the martial artists. After all the soldiers and martial artists retreated, the 3 full circle experts looked at each other and communicated with each other through voice transmissions. Then, the 3 experts walked into the Spirit God Mountain. Phew, when the 3 powerful warriors disappeared into the mountain of supernatural beings, Lu Li, who was in the Dharma realm, breathed in relief. He had thought that the 3 could find him. It seemed that not even the great perfection old devils could find him in the Dharma realm. All the martial artists were dead except for him. If he was found by a great perfection old devil, he would be taken down and interrogated for information. After exhaling, Lu Li felt uneasy. He wondered if the situation was caused by Zishi. Now that 3 great perfection old devils had gone in, would Zishi be okay? Forget it. Luli shook his head. It was too dangerous here. He could not stay here any longer. If the situation was caused by Zishi, then Zishi was a demon. Naturally, Luli would not care about her life or death. He had his own principles. He would not kill like this, nor would he absorb the souls of martial artists to nourish himself. If it were not for Zishi, the 3 great perfection old devils would not vent their anger on a little girl. Therefore, Luli just let it be. His abilities were limited. He had better leave the vicinity first. He could die here if he was not careful. Luli dashed out and snuck in carefully. After 300,000 miles, he noticed that there were martial artists blocking off the way. But the blockade was not strict. More warriors and powerful warriors were gathered together to discuss the strange force that had happened. Luli snuck away quietly. After 300,000 miles in one breath, he finally showed himself with relief. He stood on the peak of a small mountain and gazed in the direction of the Ghost God Mountain. After an hour, he sighed and said, "Zishi, I have been waiting for you here for 4 months. If you do not come out in 4 months, then I will have to leave. I hope you can come out safely, and I hope you are still the same, you. M." Chapter 34:03. Such a strange thing happening on Mount Ghost God quickly spread throughout the eastern region at a terrifying speed. It was said that even the king of the eastern region was alarmed. After all, this was too strange. More than 100,000 martial artists and 8 experts who were infinitely close to great perfection had their souls sucked dry and died. Moreover, it happened outside Mount Ghost God. This mountain was already very strange, and now the news had spread without end. Countless scouts from the great clans rushed towards the Ghost God Mountain. There were 3 great perfection realm experts entering the Ghost God Mountain, but there was not much of a commotion. Some scouts probed from afar and found that it was very quiet over there. There were no fluctuations of battle. What's going on? Many scouts were puzzled. Logically, 3 great perfection experts entering should at least cause some movement, even if a terrifying battle did not break out, right? Moreover, it had been a few days since they entered. Mount Ghost God was not big, so they should have finished exploring long ago, right? What were the 3 great perfection experts doing inside? Some large clans also sent scouts in, but they also disappeared after entering, and there was no more news. Some great perfection experts arrived nearby, but for some reason, they did not enter in the end, but waited for the 3 great perfection experts to come out. This wait took more than a month, and after 1.5 months, the 3 great perfection experts finally came out. After they came out, they did not leave immediately. The 3 great perfection experts went to find a few great perfection experts who gathered nearby, and then 8 great perfection experts took action and sealed Mount Ghost God. How powerful was the seal set up by 8 great perfection experts together? This Mount Ghost God probably could not enter, and no one would be able to come out. After the seal was set up, the entire Mount Ghost God disappeared, and only a thick white fog appeared here. If a martial artist went in, they would unknowingly walk out. The matter of Mount Ghost God has been dealt with. Everyone is dismissed. A great perfection expert transmitted his voice, and then all the great perfection experts left, leaving behind more than 1 million baffled martial artists. These great perfection experts did not tell them what happened in Mount Ghost God, nor did they tell them how it was handled, nor did they explain how the more than 100,000 martial artists died. There must be a shocking secret hidden in Mount Ghost God. The entire eastern region was guessing and discussing, but unfortunately, no martial artist knew the truth. If the 8 great perfection experts did not say, no one would be able to guess the truth. Looks like Zishi won't be able to come out. What exactly happened? Luli still had Zishi's jade talisman of life in his hand. He was at a loss. This was so strange that it was beyond his understanding. He had no other choice. The entire Spirit God Mountain had been sealed, and it was even sealed by the combined efforts of 8 consummate experts. Even if he asked Blood Fairy to help him, she probably wouldn't be able to break it even after tens of thousands of years. He snuck to the foot of the mountain of Ghost God and circled around a few times. He even personally entered the white fog area. In the end, he also automatically turned around and came out. There were also many martial artists wandering around nearby. Most of them wanted to try out the divine array set up by a perfected stage powerhouse and see if they could comprehend anything. Let's go. Luli looked into the haze and sighed. He turned around and walked toward the north. He could only pray for Zishi to take care of herself. There was nothing he could do to help, and he couldn't keep waiting here. Luli went all the way to the north. Maybe it was because of the situation at the mountain of supernatural beings, but he had been traveling in peace for a month. Surprisingly, he didn't run into too much trouble. It was quiet along the way. Every now and then, he would run into some ferocious beasts and immortal beasts, but Luli would take a detour. Luli was experienced after such a long journey. The eastern region was dangerous, but as long as he could avoid some dangerous areas in advance, he would be safer. At the very most, he would run into some unexpected situations, such as a fight between warriors or a warrior flying over his head. Luli had the trace of Tao. When he sensed any fluctuation in space, he would hide or go into the realm of Dharma at once. Therefore, as long as Luli was not unlucky, the chances of him running into danger were low. Luli traveled smoothly for over 3 months. Finally, his luck ran out. When he passed by a hill, the ground suddenly cracked. Then 2 huge pincers came at him. At the bottom of the hill, a horrifying immortal beast was lurking. The beast didn't reveal its energy. It was only alarmed by Luli's passing. Luli reacted quickly. He didn't even think about fighting this immortal beast. He dashed into the realm of Dharma. Swish! Right when Luli was about to enter the realm of Dharma, a white line suddenly came. As the white line came, space began to tremble. Then, Luli trembled. He did not go into the realm of Dharma. Whoosh! The white line hit Luli at once, and then moved around him. Soon it entangled him. The white line was like a spider's silk, entangling Luli like a meat dumpling. Oh no! Luli's mind was weighed down. This immortal beast was freaky. It could shake up space, and the space around him was shaking violently. Luli could not go into the realm of Dharma. Boom, boom, boom. The beast turned around and dashed into the underground. Luli was entangled by the white line and was dragged underground as well. There was some strange energy in the white line. Luli could not move at all. All his energy was sealed. The beast was fast. In an instant, it had gone for thousands of miles underground. Before Luli realized what was going on, he found himself in a huge underground plaza. But many parts of the plaza had collapsed. It seemed to be in a dilapidated state. This must be a relic. In the past, it might have been a palace of a major force. It seemed to have a long history. The walls were covered with moss, and the smell was stale. At this moment, Luli had a clear look at the appearance of the immortal beast. The immortal beast was not large in size. It looked like a combination of a scorpion and a spider. It was covered in brown scales and had a gloomy vibe that made people feel uncomfortable. The beast dragged Luli underground but didn't attack him. Instead, it kept dragging Luli through the halls. The bottom of the halls was spacious. After passing through many halls, the beast finally dragged Luli to a statue made of black wood. Hiss! Hiss! Luli used psychic power to check the statue. He felt he had fallen into an ice cellar. The statue itself was a statue of a malicious ghost. The atmosphere it was emitting was evil and cold. There is a remnant soul of an old demon hidden in the statue. Luli made this judgment at once. He even suspected that the beast was controlled by the remnant soul of the old demon inside the statue. Luli's mind worked quickly, trying to figure out a way out. Now that he was entangled by the white line, could he go into the realm of Dharma? More importantly, the immortal beast could make space tremble and stop Luli from going into the realm of Dharma. Of course, Luli was not in a panic. He had many means, such as the super divine liquid of destruction and the black flames. He believed that the immortal beast would not be able to stop those things. If the remnant soul inside the statue wanted to enter Luli's body, it would be courting death. TSK, TSK. From the statue came a hoarse voice. The voice exclaimed, "It has been years since I have seen such a young and powerful body. Nice. I will accept this body. With this body, I can live for thousands of years longer." Ha ha. Chapter 3404. Sure enough, this was an old demon. This immortal beast was also under his control. The reason why the beast didn't attack Lu Li was that it wanted him alive to occupy Lu Li's body. Lu Li was secretly on guard and was ready to release his flames at any time. He wanted to burn the remnant soul of the old demon and the immortal beast as well. "Kid, why are you so calm?" The old demon suddenly asked in surprise. "Are you not afraid of death?" "Old bastard, your remnant soul has existed for many years, right?" Lu Li coldly said. "Your 3 souls have all dissipated, right? Only the 7 fragments are left, right? Even if you take my body, it won't do you any good, right? At most, you can linger on for a while. What's the difference between hiding inside the statue?" "Of course there is a difference." The old demon laughed and said, "I can't move inside the statue. With a powerful body, I can use it to go out and find treasures. Then, I can find a pure soul. I still have a chance to reverse the yin and yang and be reborn." "Is there such a skill?" Lu Li blinked and said, "Didn't they say that when a person's 3 souls dissipate, not even the main god can come back to life? Are you a warrior at the consummate realm? How come you have such a powerful skill?" "That's because you are ignorant." The old demon sneered and said, "There are all kinds of strange things in this world. So what if the 3 souls dissipate? Even if there's only one of these 7 fragments, as long as the soul consciousness is still there, as long as the memory is still there, then there's a chance to come back to life. Of course, the conditions are very harsh. The purest soul is a godly fetus. It is very rare, and only one can be found in 10,000 years. Ha ha. As long as you are still alive, there is hope. So, kid, sorry, I will bury you after I use your body." Buzzing. The statue lit up and its eyes turned blood red. Then, a shadow floated out and quickly floated towards Lu Li's body. A voice sounded in Lu Li's mind. "Punk, don't fight back. I will seal a strand of your remnant soul into the statue. In this way, you can live for a while. If you fight back, I will have to devour your soul." "Ha ha," Lu Li sneered. When the shadow came over, Lu Li's body suddenly glowed in a dark light. Following that, a dark cloud of fire expanded and spread to the entire hall. "Ah!" A mournful scream sounded out. The shadow's reaction speed was quite fast. He immediately rushed into the statue. He was clearly injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let out such a mournful scream. Woo! At the same time, the beast screamed as well. It rolled over and smashed into the wall, which caused the palace to collapse. Rocks and mud fell down. Lu Li was almost buried alive. The white spider silk around Lu Li's body was burnt up. He stood up and stared at the statue instead of the immortal beast. That immortal beast's entire body was on fire. Although it wasn't dead yet, it was clearly not going to survive. Lu Li stared at the statue because it was not burnt down. There was a faint red glare that protected the statue from being burnt down. "Brat, I'm going to tear you to pieces." A furious bellow came out. Following that, there were some noises coming from the palaces. Lu Li used psychic power to check. Another 4 or 5 beasts were coming. Buzz, Lu Li absorbed the black flames around him and then disappeared on the spot. He had entered the magic realm. Those beasts rushed over and reached the statue. But since they couldn't see Lu Li, they didn't know who to attack. They just stood where Lu Li was. Buzzing. Space trembled as Lu Li came out again. Black flames surged out from his body. The black flames could even burn Bing Lu to death. Those immortal beasts should be weaker than Bing Lu. How could they stand it? After Lu Li released the black flames, he went back into the magic realm, leaving the black flames to engulf all the immortal beasts. All the immortal beasts were on fire. They were rolling around, and some were smashing into the statue. Boom! The statue trembled, but it didn't shatter. The 4 or 5 immortal beasts rolled around for a while before they all turned into mutilated bodies. They were all burned to death. Buzzing, Luli came out again. Looking at the statue, he said, "What else do you have? Use all of them. If not, I will send you to hell." The statue was strange. There must be some formation that the black flames couldn't burn. However, Luli could sense that the energy of the statue was still weakening. If the fire burned for a while, the statue would be completely destroyed. Once the statue was destroyed, where could the remnant soul go? How can you have such horrifying flames? The remnant soul of the old warrior asked. This is not something you can have. You don't have the realm and power to have this kind of flames. Also, you didn't use any treasures. Punk, who are you? You won't know who I am even if I tell you. Luli said lightly. Give me a reason not to destroy your remnant soul. Otherwise, in the time for 10 breaths, you will vanish from this world. The remnant soul said nothing. After the time for 5 breaths, he said, Okay, I admit that you are good. I admit defeat. I am willing to trade an important piece of information for a chance for my remnant soul to linger on. Luli said emotionlessly, Speak. There is something special about this hall. The remnant soul said, This is the residence of an ancient race. It has been a long time since this race was wiped out. All the treasures were taken away. Only this statue is left. There is another place that has not been discovered. There is a Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level. Tao. Li's eyes glowed. Another Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level? This thing was very crucial to him because he had always been comprehending the Tao. The Haotian Tao and the life and death Tao from before had some significance to him. If he could observe the Tao of a great perfection expert, it might be of great help to him. Where is it? Luli asked. He asked Blood Fairy to come out and set up the formation. The array he had set up was to seal the remnant soul, to prevent it from running around, and to prevent it from harming him. It was just a remnant soul that was burned by the black flames. Blood Fairy could seal it up with a formation. Luli was not afraid that the remnant soul would have any evil thoughts after it was sealed up. In the small hall at the end, the remnant soul did not notice Li's intention. Go to the left, and you will enter a super ancient hall. Take the corridor on the right, and at the end, you will reach a dead end. There is a mechanism in the dead end. Activate the mechanism, and you will enter a small hall. There is a wood carving in the small hall. Inside the wood carving is the Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level of the ancient race. I hope you are not lying to me. Luli said coldly. I will seal up this place. Your remnant soul cannot escape. If I find out that you have lied to me, I will destroy your soul. Chapter 3405. It took Blood Fairy 6 to 8 hours to finish setting up the pattern. This part of the world would be sealed off. Not even psychic power, let alone remnant souls, could come out. Blood Fairy was sure that the remnant souls could not come out. Even if they could, it would take a long time. She would be able to sense it. Luli left with a peace of mind. Following the guidance of the remnant soul of the old demon, he walked all the way to the hall. After walking through more than a dozen broken halls, he found the corridor. As he had expected, it was a dead end. There seemed to be no divine patterns or traps. Blood Fairy went to investigate and found the divine inscription that opened this place. Although it was well hidden, it was exactly as the old devil's remnant soul had described. Luli told Blood Fairy to activate the divine pattern. He was on high alert. He even took out the divine liquid of destruction, fearing that some powerful beasts would come out. Buzzing. After a moment, the wall glowed. A door appeared. Luli checked with psychic power and was relieved. The layout inside was exactly the same as the old devil's remnant soul had described. There was nothing inside, only a wooden sculpture. Luli walked in and stood in front of the wood sculpture. This wood sculpture was made of the same material as the previous one. The difference was that this sculpture was of a powerful warrior of an ancient race. His eyes were filled with vigor, as if he were a living warrior. Luli did not try to sense it at once. He told Blood Fairy to check while he used the trace of Tao to see if there was any danger. Making sure that there was no danger, Blood Fairy went back into his body. He stood in front of the statue and began to check. There was Tao in the statue. Luli could tell at a glance. He looked up and used his spiritual energy to check the eyes of the statue. He could tell that the Tao was contained in the eyes. Buzzing. Right at that moment, the eyes of the statue suddenly glowed. Following that, a strange force came out and enveloped Luli. Luli shrank and dashed into the eyes of the statue in a blur. What? Luli saw a flash of black light. He found himself in a strange space. He was shocked. He released the black flames at once to cover himself up. At the same time, he checked the surroundings. What? Luli was relieved after he took a look. There was no danger where he was standing. At this moment, he understood something, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He had been very careful, but he was still tricked by the remnant soul of that old devil. This was a strange space inside a huge cave. This cave was sealed, and there was no exit. There was a pool in the cave, and beside the pool was a stone platform. There was a skeleton on top of the platform and below it. There was a corpse sitting cross-legged on a black stone platform. Its appearance was identical to that of the statue outside, so it was most likely the corpse of a great perfection stage member of an ancient race. The other corpse fell below the stone platform. His face was ferocious, and there was a look of unwillingness and madness on his face. More than half of his body had been destroyed, and his head had exploded. It was obvious that he had suffered a powerful attack before he died. Luli guessed that the other body was that of the old demon. He came here by mistake and died here. The remnant of his soul escaped. He tricked Luli into coming here because he wanted Luli to die here as well. His remnant soul would not live for long anyway. He wanted Luli to die with him. Luli used the trace of Tao to check. At the same time, he let out Blood Fairy and asked her to take a closer look. He told Blood Fairy to be extremely careful when she examined the platform. The old devil had died beneath it, and the platform definitely contained the seal of the consummate expert's laws. It possessed immense, offensive power. This cave was unusual. Even though it was sealed, the Xianqi in heaven and earth was rich. It was not stuffy at all. The pool in front of the platform was not an average one. There must be some strong liquid in it. Luli could feel the surging energy in it. Perfect relic weapon. Luli's eyes soon fell on the high platform. There was a relic weapon stuck in the ground next to the consummate warrior. It was a saber, although it didn't seem to have any powerful aura. Since it could be placed next to a consummate warrior, it must not be an ordinary item. Emperor armaments and sacred armaments didn't count for much. What cultivators valued the most was that they contained the laws of experts. When they released this divine armament, they would be able to activate the laws within. The might of this divine armament was very frightening. Master, the platform is dangerous. I can't go any closer. Before Luli could finish his investigation, Blood Fairy said, I can sense a surge of energy in the platform. It is not a divine pattern. I think it is a trace of energy left behind by the warrior. I think I will be killed as soon as I go near it. Okay, don't do anything rash. Luli was worried. He told Blood Fairy to check other places to see if there were any exits. He stayed where he was and tried to sense from a distance. An hour later, Blood Fairy said again, Master, this is a strange space. The entire space is sealed off by a mysterious force. Only souls can go out. Souls can go out? Luli became more solemn. Unless he gave up his physical body, he could fly his soul out and find a chance to rebuild his physical body. In that case, his body would have to stay here. He could not take away the pellet nor the Dharma realm. The connection between the Dharma realm and this world was in the pellet. In other words, if Luli wanted to leave as a soul, then everything he had done would be pointless. He would have to start all over again. Also, he was a soul. This was the eastern region. There was no powerful warrior nearby that could help him. He would have to float around alone. Would he have a chance to rebuild his body? The eastern region was a dangerous place. In less than half a month, his soul would be attacked by warriors or immortal beasts. By then, his soul would be gone. The remnant soul outside must be in the same situation. When he left, his soul must be intact, but he could not rebuild his body. Gradually, he became a remnant soul. In the end, he could only hide in the wood sculpture and linger on. "I've been careless." Luli was angry. Only in Remnant's soul was left. He would not be able to linger on for long. What was there to worry about? Why would he be afraid that Luli would burn his remnant soul? His mind must be filled with resentment, and he would want to kill as many as he could. Luli and Blood Fairy kept on searching. After 2 days, they were sure that there was no exit. Apart from the platform and the pond, there was nothing special. Luli gazed at the platform. He had an idea. Either he could go up to the platform and stand in front of the remains of the warrior at the consummate realm, or he could end up like that asshole and leave his body here forever. Chapter 3406. Luli stayed in the cave and observed for more than 10 days. Eventually, he made up his mind that he could either go up to the platform or die here. He walked toward the platform slowly. Luli didn't even bother to collect the interspatial ring of the corpse. If he died here, it would be pointless to have more treasures. There were 9 stairs in total. Luli stepped onto the first one carefully. All of a sudden, the entire platform trembled. Then, a surge of energy came from the platform. The energy seemed to be a warning. If Luli dared to move forward, he would be attacked by the powerful energy from the platform. An extremely fierce attack. Luli also sensed a fatal danger. He stood on the first stair and didn't dare to move. He closed his eyes to sense the situation on the high platform. The situation on the platform was complicated. Luli could not see clearly even with a trace of Tao. Vaguely, he felt that the platform was like an oppressive volcano with horrifying power that could erupt at any time and tear him into pieces. What should I do? Luli began to think. 2 hours later, he had a general idea. Either he could break the platform by force, or he could withstand the attacks from the platform, or he could figure out the deeper meaning behind the design of the platform. It would be difficult to break the platform. There was no mark on the platform. It was very likely that the corpse had attacked it before. Therefore, it cannot be broken. Luli wanted to try whether or not he could do it. He retreated several thousand feet, and then released an ordinary attack. He released a surge of source energy, which transformed into a fist and smashed at the stair. Boom! The fist landed on the stair. A ray of dark glare came from the platform. Then came a muffled sound. This fist felt like a child's fist that had smashed into an iron plate. There were no ripples on the high platform. Hoi! Luli increased his strength. He took out his weapon, released Ray of Sword Light, and then used Dharma Construct. Also, he took out some divine elixir of destruction, trying to corrode the platform with it. It didn't work. Luli tried many ways, but nothing happened to the platform. He didn't even leave a mark, let alone destroy it. Luli walked to the side of the platform and swung his fist. He mobilized his energy and punched at the platform. This move was so powerful that not even average Saint Emperors could stand it. However, the platform didn't shake. It just gave off a black glare. The platform was so strong. The first option was not working. Luli didn't want to try to withstand the attack from the platform for now. This was the last option, and it might be a one-way trip. If Luli was right, the dead corpse of the Asmodean must be a powerful warrior that was very close to the complete realm. How could Luli do it? Luli climbed up the stairs again. This time, he sat on the stairs with his legs crossed, tried to sense everything on the platform, trying to figure out the meaning behind it. This was the place where the consummate powerhouse ascended to heaven. The purpose of this high platform was obviously to protect his remains. He didn't want to end up without a corpse left. But why didn't he put his body in a coffin? Luli had been to many tombs with treasures. The powerful warriors would put their bodies in coffins and set up powerful inhibition formations in the coffins. They would also leave their treasures outside. This way, under normal circumstances, no martial artist would go and destroy their remains. It was easy for a warrior at the complete realm to get a coffin of the highest level. Why did he leave his body exposed? Why did he sit on the platform when he died? The death of this warrior at the complete realm was sudden. Not even he saw it coming. Luli thought of one possibility. For a warrior at the complete realm, if he had reached the end of his life, he would have had some time to make arrangements. Even if he didn't arrange it, his descendants would have arranged it for him. How could it be so simple and cold to store his remains in such a cave? That is it. Luli suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the skull on the platform. There was a small crack on the skull. Clearly, the warrior was injured. His soul might have been hurt. There was also the saber in front of him. Half of the saber was stuck into the platform. The platform was a place for warriors at the complete realm to cultivate. How could he have stuck the saber into the platform for no reason? If the platform was destroyed, wouldn't it be a waste of time to repair it? Luli thought of the dilapidated palaces outside and the skeletons in the palaces. Luli was certain that the Foot clan was attacked. The warrior at the complete realm was badly injured. He came back when he was dying and died. Since he died in a hurry, the warrior at the complete realm didn't have time to make arrangements. Therefore, he left some energy and engraved his own rules and Taoist seals in the platform to protect his body. This space was also sealed by his powerful skills so that one could only enter but not leave. Was this to prevent warriors from accidentally breaking in and then asking other powerful warriors to come in and destroy his body? But souls could escape from here. Luli couldn't figure it out. He didn't understand the profound meaning of the warrior's arrangement. Luli thought of another direction. The powerful attack on the platform did not rely on the divine glyphs, but on the powerful energy and Taoist seals left by the warrior before he died. It had been a long time. Much of the energy must have dissipated. Could it be that the warrior had been consuming the energy of the platform, and when the energy ran out, he could go up to the platform? Let's see. Luli jumped down, then he took out a rope and tied it around the body of the Asmodean. With a sudden swing, he threw the body towards the high platform. Buzzing. When the corpse flew onto the high platform lit up with a dazzling black light. Following that, the saber on the high platform suddenly flew up, and the saber disappeared. It turned into a stream of light and struck the corpse like lightning. Boom! What happened next on Luli? The corpse of the Asmodean was smashed into dust by the saber. A body that was infinitely close to the consummate realm was very strong. Even the bones of a dead warrior could be as powerful as a relic weapon. Yet, it was smashed into dust by a casual move. Luli thought for a while and took out a holy weapon from his interspatial ring. He stood in the distance, poured his origin energy into the holy weapon, and then threw it at the platform. Swish, the holy weapon whooshed over and landed on the platform. Once again, the platform glowed in a black glare. The saber moved again and landed on the holy weapon. Then, the holy weapon was smashed into pieces again. Nothing was left. Go on. Luli had many regular imperial weapons and holy weapons in his interspatial ring. He wanted to see if he could exhaust the energy in the platform with continuous attacks. If he could, then the platform would not be dangerous anymore. He took out weapons one after another. They were all filled with origin energy, so that the attacks would be sharp and could affect the protection of the platform. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Luli kept on attacking, and the high platform kept on glaring. The saber flew up and then stabbed back, almost without a break. After Luli came to the immortal region, he had killed many warriors and acquired many interspatial rings. Most of the interspatial rings were regular relic weapons. Luli did not care about the consumption. He kept on attacking. He wanted to see if the energy in the platform could be used up after tens of thousands of attacks. Chapter 3407. It turned out that Luli was overthinking. Luli had been attacking for several days. He had found all the interspatial rings he had and all the weapons he could use to attack. He had been attacking for 7,000 or 8,000 times, but the platform was still moving at a fast pace, showing no signs of slowing down. Luli had no more regular weapons in his interspatial rings. He stopped and began to think. The platform could absorb energy in heaven and earth. It was impossible for it to run out of energy. Luli walked to the bottom of the stairs and began to sense the situation on the platform again. He even entered the state of illusion so that he could be quieter and have a better sense of the situation on the platform. It had been 3 months since Luli had sensed something. He could sense the aura of a Tao. This high platform contained a Tao, and he could vaguely sense the aura of this Tao. Luli was cheered up. At this moment, he had no time to worry about anything else. He had to sense the Tao first. Tao was not something that could be sensed easily. Luli would not let go of such a good chance. He wholeheartedly focused on comprehending it, forgetting that he was trapped, forgetting everything else, all for the sake of pursuing this Tao and comprehending this Tao. Time passed by quickly. Luli himself could not even feel the passage of time. Luli felt that only a few months had passed, but he had been studying for 3 years. 3 years might seem like a long time, but Luli did not learn much, not to mention completely understanding the Tao of this warrior at the consummate realm. What is this Tao? Traceless, and boundless. The traceless Tao? This warrior's Tao suited Luli. The traceless Tao was suitable for hiding. It could come and go without a trace. Nobody could break it, and nobody could capture it. The traceless Tao. Luli suddenly realized that he was trapped here and could not get out. Wasn't the traceless Tao the key to solving the problem? Even part of the traceless Tao should be enough for him to get out, not to mention the complete traceless Tao. Go on. Luli was cheered up. He didn't care how long he had been cultivating here. He had made up his mind to study the traceless Tao for a while and only come out when he could no longer do so. This high platform was engraved with a portion of the traceless Tao's Tao seal. It will be difficult to comprehend the complete traceless Tao using the Tao seal here. If he could comprehend some superficial knowledge, he might be able to leave. Soon, another 3 years had passed. Luli had been sitting on the stairs with his legs crossed. He hadn't moved for 3 years. Today, he finally showed some changes. His body actually started to become translucent, and it felt like he was becoming illusory. Moreover, the aura on his body also became much weaker, as if he had become a spirit monster. However, he himself did not wake up, still sitting cross-legged on the stone stairs. His body's aura was extremely weak, turning into a translucent shadow. Time moved on. As time went by, Luli's body became more and more transparent, and his chi and energy were getting weaker and weaker. They even felt that Luli was not a living being, but a shadow of a warrior. 1 year, 2 years. Another 3 years passed. Luli's body became transparent. There was no longer any energy coming from him. It was as if he had vanished from this world. This kind of disappearance was different from the Swift. The Swift relied on a certain skill, but this kind of disappearance was more like merging with heaven and earth, becoming one with heaven and earth. Luli still had not woken up. At the moment, Blood Fairy felt she could not sense Luli's existence. Blood Fairy was surprised. She had a spiritual connection with Luli, and yet she could not sense him. What kind of Tao had Luli learned? Another half a year later, the stone stairs glowed. Luli came out with a smile on his face. He was filled with joy. After spending nearly 10 years, he finally made great progress in his comprehension of the traceless Tao. He felt that he had made a huge improvement in the aspect of concealment. It was very likely that even experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection stage would not be able to detect him. Warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm could borrow the force in heaven and earth. They were very close to nature and sensitive to nature. Therefore, when Luli used the art of concealment, warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm could see through it and sense Luli's existence. The traceless Tao was a kind of natural law. Just now, when Luli was stealthy, he had become one with heaven and earth, just like a warrior at the consummate realm. To a certain extent, the traceless Tao was similar to a warrior at the consummate realm. Well, Luli stood up. He squinted and gazed at the platform. After a moment of thought, his body glowed in white and became transparent. His body was as light as a feather, like a remnant of his soul. She slowly lifted her foot and walked up the stone staircase. He easily stepped onto the second stone staircase, but there was no reaction from the high platform. The third, the fourth, the ninth. Luli stood on the stage, but there was still no reaction from the stage. Luli put on a smile. He stepped forward until he stood in front of the warrior at the consummate realm. He bowed respectfully and kowtowed 9 times. When he was about to step back, the entire platform suddenly trembled. Luli was a bit surprised, but he did not panic. He did not sense any horrifying power or fatal danger. Whoosh! That saber suddenly flew up, but it was not aimed at Luli. Instead, it floated in the air and flew toward him. Luli grabbed the saber. After a white glare, Luli was knocked back. Boom! The platform suddenly cracked open. Then, the skeleton of the warrior at the consummate realm fell into the platform. Slowly, the platform healed up and went back to normal. Nice saber. Luli looked at the saber in his hand. It was a heavy saber, glowing in a dark blue color and giving off a chilly air. The saber was beautifully forged. It was over 3 feet long, majestic and domineering. More importantly, even an idiot could tell that the saber was a piece of treasure. Traceless. Luli saw the 2 words engraved on the hilt. He seemed to understand. The warrior at the consummate realm must have studied the Traceless Tao. Even the name of the saber was Traceless Saber. Master, Blood Fairy asked curiously, what happened? Did you break through this place? Yes. Luli nodded with certainty. Not only that, I have learned a Tao. I have only scratched the surface, but I will make great progress if I go on. Also, I have acquired this Traceless Saber, the most advanced relic weapon in the world. This is a blessing in disguise. Blood Fairy asked again after a pause. Master, can you go out now? Not a problem. Luli bowed to the stage again. Then he flew off the stage and collected all the divine liquid and interspatial rings. Then he turned into nothingness and flew toward the wall. He smashed into the wall. The next second, he reappeared in the ruin hall. It has been 10 years. Luli sighed with a frown. I wonder if Little White is still at the northern battlefield. If not, my trip will be in vain. M. Chapter 34:08. Luli did not leave right away. Instead, he walked toward the small hall. Blood Fairy could tell that the remnant soul had not left. It was still in the seal. Open the seal, Luli shouted. Blood Fairy opened the seal, and Luli walked in slowly. As soon as Luli arrived, the eyes of the statue glowed in a strange light. Then a voice said in surprise, How? How come you are out? Luli answered with a light smile. I have learned the Tao inside, so I will come out of it. What are you saying that I cannot come out? No. The remnant soul answered at once. I mean, I did not expect you to learn the rules inside so quickly. I thought it would take you at least hundreds of years. Your Excellency is truly a genius. Congratulations. Same to you. Luli grinned. I forgot to tell you. I have destroyed your physical body. I am here to destroy your remnant soul, in case you continue to wreak havoc in the human world. The remnant soul was taken aback. Lord, you cannot do this. You're burning the bridge after crossing it. Didn't we have a deal? How can you go back on your words? Enough with the act. Dark flames sprang up around Luli and enveloped the statue. Once again, the remnant soul shouted in fear, Have mercy, Lord. I have a secret to tell you. I will tell you as long as you spare my life. Say it. Luli snorted. The statue cannot stand for long. If you cannot convince me before the statue burns down, then you can disappear forever. There is a powerful immortal beast in the underground palace. The remnant soul could not waste any more time. My remnant soul has used a skill to trap that immortal beast's soul. I'm slowly taking control of that immortal beast's soul. This immortal beast is almost as powerful as a warrior at the consummate realm. Lord, if you are willing to spare my life, I will give you this immortal beast. Not interested, Luli replied indifferently. More flames burst out from his body. Finally, the statue could not stand it any longer. It burst into flames. The remnant soul let out a miserable cry before it was incinerated into nothingness. Luli didn't want to take any more risks. He couldn't control the immortal beast yet. Moreover, it was very likely that this remnant soul would play tricks. If he went down and the immortal beast suddenly counterattacked, although he might not necessarily die, he did not want to take the risk again. Go, He soared into the air and quickly rushed up to the surface. Soon, he rushed out of the ground. When he smelled the fresh air, Luli took a deep breath and flew away in a blur. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, he found a random place and entered the Dharma realm. In the Dharma realm, he fell asleep. It wasn't that he hadn't rested during the 10 years he had spent in seclusion, but when he was sleeping, he was still thinking about enlightenment. He hadn't completely relaxed. Now, he could finally relax and rest. Luli slept for more than 10 days. When he woke up, he felt refreshed. He took out some divine liquid and fruits to enjoy. He began to recall what he had gained in the underground palace. His greatest gain was undoubtedly comprehending an extremely powerful Tao that was of great help to him, the traceless Tao. Luli's art of hiding was impressive as well. Not even a perfect realm warrior could find him in the Dharma realm. However, once he was in the Dharma realm, the entrances and exits were fixed. Previously, he was almost trapped by Bing Lu. Therefore, entering the Dharma realm was not really hiding. Now that he had the traceless Tao, he felt his art of hiding was improving. He had become one with heaven and earth. No matter how hard he tried, he could not find Luli because he had integrated with heaven and earth. How could a warrior that was infinitely close to a perfect realm warrior find him? Wouldn't they just have to sense heaven and earth to find him? Now that he had integrated with heaven and earth, how could they find him? I haven't mastered the traceless Tao yet. Luli was a bit shocked. If he had mastered the traceless Tao, not even a warrior at the perfect realm could find him. By then, he would be free to roam the world. Wait, Luli suddenly thought of something. If the traceless Tao was so powerful, then why did that warrior at the perfect realm die? He didn't die because of the exhaustion of his life, but because he was severely injured by a powerful warrior? Is there a Tao that can restrain the traceless Tao? Did I just happen to encounter a warrior at the perfect realm? Luli thought about it and realized there was only one possibility. Otherwise, it would be inexplicable. There were 3,000 paths, and there must be countless Taos in the world. Everything in heaven and earth reinforced and restrained each other. Naturally, there must be a Tao that could restrain the traceless Tao. Never mind. Luli nodded to himself. He had decided to focus on the traceless Tao from now on. Regardless of anything else, as long as he could thoroughly comprehend the traceless Tao, his chances of survival would greatly increase. Warriors at the perfect realm were arrogant, and they would not attack those that were not at the perfect realm. Warriors that were infinitely close to the perfect realm should not be able to find him. In that case, he would be safer and he could go anywhere in the world. All of a sudden, Luli noticed something. His realm seemed to have improved without him noticing. Previously, he was at the middle stage of the Emperor realm. Now, he was at the later stage of the Emperor realm. It would not be difficult for him to reach the peak of the Emperor realm. Daos. Luli understood now. After reaching the Emperor realm, one must study the Daos in heaven and earth. Without that, one could hardly make any progress in cultivation. He had made some achievements on the traceless Tao, so his realm was improving. Very well. Luli smiled. If he could reach the sane Emperor realm, he would like to do so. After all, he would improve in all aspects. As he learned more about Daos, his realm would improve, and there was hope for him to reach the sane Emperor realm. Buzzing, the traceless saber appeared in Luli's hand. He wanted to take control of it. The saber was a relic weapon of a warrior at the perfect realm. It must contain the laws of attack of a warrior at the perfect realm. It would be a supplement for his relatively weak attacks. Luli had the black flames, the super flames, and the divine liquid of destruction. But those were external items. The more he used them, the lesser they would be. He could not go to the tomb of Flame Emperor to absorb the flames. Could he? The saber was different. When he took control of it, it would be part of his abilities. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to go to Lu Xiaobai's place. He wanted to take control of the relic weapon first. After a day, Luli realized something. He could not take control of the saber. However, this saber naturally had some connection with him. In other words, this saber recognized him, but was not willing to be used by him? Is it because my understanding of the traceless Tao is not deep enough? Lu Li thought of a possibility. He could take control of the saber because he had scratched the surface of the traceless Tao. The saber had recognized him. However, his understanding of the traceless Tao was not deep enough, or his abilities were not strong enough. Therefore, the relic weapon was not willing to be controlled by him. The relic weapon had a spirit, and it chose its master. Third master, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.